Gavel us in at 5:30 for the April 3rd regular board meeting of the Pacific Grove Unified School District. And our first thing, which I just did, was the call to order. And I'll now start with the land acknowledgement. So good evening. As we begin this meeting, it's important to pay respect to and acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Ohlone, Costanoan, and Esselen people, and additionally pay respect to elders past and present. And I think we're on to roll call, which is up to you, Dr. Adams.
Yes, we are. Absolutely. President Dr. Hazen.
I'm here.
Clerk McNary. Here. Trustee Otmar.
I'm here.
Trustee Shamaz.
Here.
And Trustee Wax.
Here. Great. So with that, we have the adoption of the agenda. It's a full agenda tonight. See if there's anyone in the room with public comment or online. Nothing there. And so going to the board, I'll start just to say, as I'm sure you all are aware, it's a very, very full plate. And we have 2 discussion items coming later. So I just wanted to suggest, but everyone can do whatever they want, that we be cognizant of time and ask questions concisely and such that we can make sure we get to the items that I think there'll be people here that will want to see. So with that, any other discussion of the agenda? Whoa. Can I get a motion?
I will so move.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion made by Trustee Otmar, seconded by Clerk McNary. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes in this case unanimously 5-0. So now I will identify our closed session topics. Item 1 and 2 are negotiations, collective bargaining session, planning and prep with the PGTA and CSEA for 24-25 under Government Code 3549.1. We have a public employee discipline dismissal release leave complaint, Government Code 54957. And then conference with legal counsel on existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9. And with that, is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on the closed session topics? If not, I will go ahead and adjourn us to closed session, and we will be back at 6:30, I think. Okay, see you guys then. I'm gathering us back in from closed session, and I'm going to start really quickly by reading the outcome of our closed session topics. For item 1 and 2 on negotiations, information was received and direction was given. From item 3, information was received. And for item 4, in the matter of OAH case 202-501-0739, the board voted unanimously 5-0 in closed session to approve the settlement agreement as presented. So with that, we now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Could I get maybe Imogen, would you be willing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Just this away. Yeah. You caught my eye first, sorry. Excellent. And I will now hand the mic over to you, Dr. Adamson.
Right, wonderful. Well, good evening and welcome. It's always just a pleasure to have a full room in front of us, and especially when the room is filled with students. So welcome to each and every one of you. We are fortunate enough this evening to have 2 presentations. We are going to begin with our elementary students, and it is my absolute privilege to introduce our teacher who's going to be talking a little bit about the first presentation. He happens to be our orchestral teacher for elementary students this year, his first year with us. And in fact, what you will be seeing today is really the product of students in 4th and 5th grade, many of whom I understand are playing musical instruments for the first time ever. So at this time, it will just be my privilege to invite you up to the front, Mr. Cohen, to introduce yourself and then just introduce the students. Thank you for being here this evening.
Hi, good afternoon. So my name is Mr. Nathan Cohen, and I am the band and orchestra director for 4th and 5th grade at Robert Down and Forest Grove. And it's been such a pleasure, starting students in 4th grade. And I think it makes such a difference starting students on musical instruments early. I'm really excited to develop the program and send these students off to the middle school with real skill sets and being really excited about music. I want to thank Ms. Priest for having us at the middle school for their music festival a couple of weeks ago. When we came back from the field trip, the students were just so fired up about music and really excited to spend the day listening to music and playing music with their peers. So this evening we have a little short video clip from our presentation at the middle school, as well as some little video clips from different classes, throughout the weeks. And we have a couple students that will come up and talk about the program and their experience. Thank you. I'd like to invite some of our students to come on up. You can all come on up, and then each one of them has a couple words to say about their experience in the program. Come on up. Mac, would you like to go first? Milo?
Sure.
All right, I knew Milo would go first.
Uh, Hello, I am Milo Acosta from fourth grade, and I am in Fourth Grove. And I love music dearly. In fact, I love it so much. My favorite thing to do, it's my favorite thing to do in school. I'm a percussionist, so I bang sticks on leather and metal that have a very satisfying sound. It's pretty fun. Mr. Cullen makes music really fun to learn. He's really patient and doesn't pressure us. He is, if in my opinion, he's way better at playing the trumpet than Dizzy Gillespie. I love doing all the music too. It's like a tap dance with your hands. The most I like about it is like when you rock, you can't stop. I'll listen to Chop Suey, one of my favorite rock songs, for 20 minutes on repeat, and then play all my stuff. Thank you for letting me present, and this might be a possibility, but I really don't want music canceled in our school.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Mac.
Hello, my name is Mac Rolstad. I go to Robert Down Elementary School. I'm in fifth grade and I'm playing the cello. I chose this instrument because it sounds beautiful. The most difficult part about playing the cello for me is moving my fingers on the fingerboard. The most fun part about playing the cello for me is learning how to play new songs and new notes. I think the recent concert at PGMS went really well and we all played great. Finally, I think music is important because it sounds beautiful and it can relax people. All in all, my experience in orchestra with Mr. Cohen has been awesome, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn and play an instrument at school. Hello, my name is Juliana Pazzi, and I am in fourth grade at Forest Grove. I started playing violin this year as part of the elementary instrumental music program with Mr. Cohen. Although trying a new instrument like the violin can seem intimidating, Mr. Cohen has been a huge help to every step of the way. He measured me to get the right size instrument, he advised me on which violin to get, and he gave me a new rosin each time mine didn't work or broke. Plus, he engages seamlessly with his students and he makes learning to play together fun. Finally, I was pleased to play with Forest Grove and Robert Down students together like a real orchestra at the Binnell School Music Festival. Mr. Cohen did a fabulous job at preparing all of us to play our parts together after only 6 months of class, once a week, and a handful of orchestra practices with just Forest Grove students. It was quite thrilling, exciting, and impressive accomplishment. Seeing the middle schoolers play was an added bonus as it inspired us to continue learning and playing in hopes of one day being able to play like them. I am really looking forward to playing together again in May. Hi, my name is Amos Cohen, and I am in fourth grade at Robert Down. I play French horn and band and drums and orchestra. We practice songs so we can play them smoothly. I like being in music class because Mr. Cohen is my dad, and we progress through new techniques each practice.
Hello, my name is Regina Zavada, and I go to Robert Down, and I'm in fifth grade. And this is why the music program is really fun and has been a great experience for me and the other fourth and fifth graders at Robert Down. It gave us an opportunity to try an instrument if we had not before and work on it through the year and decide if it was something we wanted to continue in middle school and possibly beyond. I live for music, so signing up for this program was an obvious choice for me, but it was difficult to choose between band and orchestra. It's fun to practice and play together, and really recently got to play in front of an audience at the middle school, giving us a chance to perform together and share what we learned this year. My favorite song to play with the band is Band Room Boogie. We haven't played that one yet in front of an audience, and I can't wait to play it for our next performance. Mr. Cohen is a nice and helpful teacher, and he makes learning new instruments very fun. It's not always easy for us, but Mr. Cohen gives us very careful directions to make it easier. All in all, I really enjoy the music program.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I'm going to just on behalf of everyone in this room say another big thank you and one more round of applause, I think, for our students who are here speaking. And what a joy for us to actually see the product of the year's work and to hear, learning a musical instrument is an incredibly hard thing to do. Whether it's the first time you've picked up a musical instrument, I'm just looking to the 6 students who are here with us today, or if it was you've maybe been doing it for a few years already. The fact that you will all have been able to come together to master something in such a short amount of time is incredible, and that takes dedication, and it takes definitely a passion and a desire to do that. And as I'm hearing from all of you, I think the theme, as all of you spoke, that came through for me was that it is fun, right? Learning an instrument is fun. And I think one of you made the comment that Mr. Cohen has really helped you, the whole idea of all of you coming together, right? Forest Grove and Robert Down, that was fun, right? Learning together was fun. So how wonderful to hear that, and to just see that music is alive and well at our schools. So what I have for the 6 of you today is we have certificates that I'm going to ask for you to be able to take back to all of the many students. I understand there are almost 120 students total. So normally we do individual certificates, but that is a lot for us to do. So we're going to figure something out as far as that goes. But for today, we have certificates for each of the individual classes that I'm going to ask the 6 of you to be responsible for taking back to the rest of your peers. How does that sound? Does that sound good? And so in the meantime, I'm going to ask each of you to come up individually to just accept those on behalf of the rest of your students. So I can now ask the 6 of you to come up, and let's give them all one more big round of applause. We are going to take a photo. So once I give them to you, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and stand in front of the dais, and we'll go ahead and move from there. Tap dance with your hands. That is one of my favorite. I'm going to go ahead and give that to you. Let's see.
Thank you.
I may have to ask 2 of you to share. Let's go ahead and stand in front of the dais, and I'm going to recognize your teacher in a second, okay? Just in front of the dais there. And while they're taking their positions, I have a certificate for you, Mr. Cohen, for just everything you've done to bring about a love and the creativity amongst the students that you serve. That's definitely been evidence in the video that you put together for us today, and just what the students have shared themselves, right, on how much they're enjoying this. So thank you to you for everything you're doing for our students. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Cohen. Ask the board and our student rep and assistant superintendent to come on forward to join us. And I do want to just mention these certificates are representative of our culture of we and our 3 core values, which are belonging, safety, and prosperity. And I think there's no better way other than music that really can truly bring those 3 core values together. But in particular, the one that comes to the forefront for me is belonging, right? It truly allows everyone to be able to stand out, but also blend in, right, with your talent. So again, thank you all. And we're going to do a photo.
Thanks, Dr. Adamson, you're still on the mic if you don't mind.
We'll go ahead and introduce our next one. So as I said, we have two presentations for you this evening. And our second is our culinary arts group who are here tonight being led by Chef Erickson, who I just love using that, Chef Jen or Chef Erickson, but I'm going to go with the second. I know they are fresh off the heels of just a pretty big competition called Pro Start. And I know they are here this evening to maybe talk a little bit about that. I also got, once again, it always just seems coincidental when you're here, that I got to visit yesterday as they were putting together one of their pop-up bakeries and coffee shops as part of the Visual and Performing Arts Vapor Week at the Pacific Grove High School this week. And so I got to actually taste some of their lattes and ice cream and other goodies. So that's always a delight. And it's just amazing every time I'm there to see, the new creations and the lights that you're all putting together. So this time I'm going to invite you to the front, Chef Erickson, to talk a little bit about your students and this incredible program we have. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a tough act to follow. I am so impressed by the poise and talent of our elementary school students. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and let you know I'm very excited for when you come up to the high school. As was said, I'm Imogen Erickson. I'm the culinary arts instructor at Pacific Grove High. I've been teaching there for 10 years, and this is my third year as the culinary coach. And I wanted to start out by saying that never before have I felt more supported and encouraged and excited to come to work and do what I do as this year with this board, with this district office, and with my administrators and all of my colleagues. And of course, most of all, I'm just awed by my students who just never fail to show up and bring their very best. These guys, this journey starts early. With me, it starts with the first year that they take my culinary class. And from there on, they continue to hone their skills and bring them up to the level where they're ready to compete on a state stage. So this is a huge competition. It's put on by the California Restaurant Association. It's part of a larger national competition from the National Restaurant Association. And it's just unbelievable what these young people do. As I said, the process starts the day they set foot in the classroom. This year, it started the day they walked into the classroom. And from August till, well, really now, it hasn't let up. We went to competition in February, and immediately upon their return, they were asked to jump into a National Restaurant Association golf event in Pebble Beach. They made a wedding cake for a local business, and Visual and Performing Arts Week. So it has just been nonstop hard work and talent. I couldn't be more proud, but enough from me. Although I would be remiss because he's not standing here next to me if I did not acknowledge my husband, Jeff Erickson. He has been the business management coach for the past 2 years, and has done an absolutely incredible job. So yeah, I couldn't do anything I do without that guy. But I would love to invite my students to come up and share more of the experiences from their own words. Come on.
Hi everyone, my name is Destiny Kraft and I was captain of Pacific Grove High School's Red Team. The teammates with me here today are Dieva and John. two couldn't make it, Fang King and Robbie Meek. On the culinary side of competition, we had to cook a 3-course fine dining meal with 2 identical plates each. So we had 6 whole plates. Each team has 30 minutes to prep ingredients and an hour to cook using only 2 camping burners with no other electricity. The experience has taught us all an immense amount of teamwork and time management because you have to manage your sports, your family life, culinary practices after school, and Chef was there for hours on end for us. I've been lucky enough to participate in the Culinary Pro Start competition for the past 2 years. Last year, our culinary team brought home 5th place out of 31 teams. And this year, my team, out of 31 teams, made 6th. We face private art schools and public schools alike. And yet we've still made it to the top ranks of competition for the past 2 years. And all with the help of our wonderful culinary teacher and Poe. The amazing experiences and skills my teammates and I have gathered will be with us for the rest of our lives. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Zach Fernandez, and I was the captain of Pacific Grove High's Pro Start management team. These past 2 years as a captain have been amazing, working with my teams and building business plans that will be recognizable for years to come. Vera, Olivia, and I, who are sitting next to me, along with Ruby and Mackenzie, who are unfortunately not here tonight, worked countless hours in and out of school to curate what we called Cruise and Coffee Company. Cruise and Coffee Company was our lowrider-inspired mobile coffee kitchen with a Latin-inspired menu of coffee, conchas, and churros. I chose to embody the Latin theme as a tribute to my Mexican parents, who have been by my side through thick and thin and constantly continue to support me every day. As a culinary group from small town Pacific Grove, all of our teams placed incredibly high both years, competing against private art schools and returning teams who've mastered the curriculum. Last year, my team and I brought home 3rd place in our first year competing, and this time bringing home 5th with almost double the competitors. If there's one thing I've learned, Pro Start competition is not just about winning. Pro Start is about the experience and education you receive, along with connecting with some of the top industry leaders. As a senior in high school going off to attend university for entrepreneurship, the skills that Chef Erickson and her husband Poe have provided me with are something I will cherish forever. Poe was our management team's coach and helped us tremendously with problem solving and calming us when stress levels were at an all-time high. Chef and Poe, we love you and we thank you for the opportunities and skills you provided us with over the years and continue to give us while you still have us as students. The culinary program at Pacific Grove High is a hidden gem because you're not just cooking, you're learning basic life skills such as problem solving, working under pressure, teamwork, and most importantly, building a family. My culinary family means everything to me, and I'm devastated to not be a part of next year's accomplishments, but excited to see where the legacy this group of people started continues to. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ella Smith, and I was a part of the gold team for this year's Pro Start Cup. I assisted in making the entree along with my teammate Matthias. The 2 other people on my team are Eli, who made our appetizer, and Caitlin on our dessert. For our entree, we made a mole rubbed rack of lamb with a quinoa salad and sweet potato mash in the middle. Our appetizer was an ancho chili scallop ceviche with a micro mango salsa on top of a tostada-shaped scallop shell. Lastly, our dessert was a 3-milk tres leches chiffon cake with lime curd and a coconut cremeux. The overall Pro Start experience not only taught me culinary skills, but also taught me work efficiency and team collaboration. My team and I worked nonstop in creating our Mexican-inspired menu. As well as this, we had to trial and error hundreds of different dishes and techniques. Being able to go down to LA, network, compete, and enrich my learning experience has created a lasting effect on my overall culinary journey.
Oh, is this a video? So I think this is you guys getting set up. Yeah, so there they are on the competition floor. This is down in Los Angeles. And this is the 20-minute setup. the first thing that happens is they have to do product check-in, and all of the ingredients, we have to bring all of the ingredients, nothing is supplied. And so it has to come in at the appropriate temperature. So we face this gauntlet of chefs with thermometers and yeah, so here. Kenzie. Spin. Absolutely everything they do is being judged. It is wild. There's the lamb. The last one was the catfish, the Southern inspired. There we go. I did just want to. I also wanted to acknowledge one other person who I think I saw come in the back of the room, but Sharia was also part of our team, not in an official position, but boy, did he work like, it was all on the line. He worked hours and hours right along with these guys, getting ready for next year. So I'm very excited to have him come back. All right, well, I feel just exhausted hearing about it. I feel stress already just hearing. Oh my goodness, wow, that is impressive. I got to see a little bit of the menu prior to you heading out for the competition and see a little bit of the practicing in action. But clearly, the amount of work and effort and dedication that goes into this, I mean, you've got to love what you do, and it's clear that you do. And I think each and every one of you definitely has a career, right? If this is something you choose to do in moving forward, and that's exciting. So I definitely would, number one, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the board for being here with us this evening and sharing just a taste of some of the incredible things you do. But we do have certificates for each of you. So I'm going to ask for all of you, if we could all hold our applause till the end, because there are a few of them. I'm going to ask for your forgiveness in advance on the pronunciation of some of the words. And if I say it completely wrong, then just whisper in my ear and I'll say it again the correct way, I promise. And I know I can already see with the first one, I'm going to mess things up. So I apologies in advance. When you do come up and take your certificate. And then if you wouldn't mind standing in front of the dais. Sharia Panchal. Oh, wow. And of course, with the first one, we never follow the directions. So there we go. Thank you, Sharia. Just go ahead and stand in front over there. Great. Matthias de la Garza, Vera Barry, John Steggy. Is that all? Okay. Olivia Engelhorn, Destiny Craft, Yeva Yevdash. Did I say it right?
Yava.
Yes, okay. Yava. Oh, that's beautiful. It's beautiful. Elias Jones. Or is it Elias? Elias, okay, very good. Zach Fernandez. Thank you, Zach. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Oh, we missed one. What is your name? Come on up and get a handshake from me, Ella. We will make sure we get a certificate from you as well. Fix that, okay? This is the team. Wow, how proud you should stand there with those certificates, which, as I mentioned earlier, represent what we stand for here at Pacific Grove, our culture of we, but more importantly, our three core values of prosperity, belonging, and safety. And definitely the two that stand to mind for me right now, prosperity and belonging, right? Because the thing that so many of you mentioned, those of you who talked, you talked about building a family, right? And just the time management that you're learning, the life skills, right? The prosperity comes in your ability to take those life skills and apply them once you leave our high school and move on out into the big wide world, right? You are destined for greatness. I can absolutely tell each of you. So congratulations again. I would at this time like to go ahead and recognize, yes, your chef. It's just been a pleasure for me to get to know you over it's been almost 2 years, maybe a year and a half at this point, Jen. But from the moment I met you, I knew there's something special here, just from how the passion that you talked about in the work that you do, in just the love and the care and attention that you give to the students that you serve. And then, yes, when it comes to that attention to detail, when it comes to the preparation for competitions like this, which allow our district to shine
but more importantly, gives our students this opportunity to go on and just take the world by their hands, right? The world is their oyster when we open it up in such ways. So thank you for just making that opportunity available for our students. If you would accept this certificate on our behalf. And I do want to, right? You mentioned him, your sidekick in so many ways, but I know he was a big part of the competition. And so I would like to go ahead and also recognize Mr. Jeff Erickson as well. Thank you for your work. I'm going to invite the board and our student rep and assistant sup to come around to the front for some photos, please.
Okay, we're now on to the communications IV section of the agenda. So we're going to start with our student representative comments. Please, Juliet, go right ahead.
Okay, I'll start off with our community high update. We're happy to announce that the community high school senior Anthony Garcia Trinidad was named Region 10 winner of the Association of California School Administrators. Every Student Succeeding Award for 2024 to 2025. Anthony will be recognized at the ACSA State Leadership Summit in November 2025. Congratulations, Anthony. Multiple students have graduated early, and the students and staff look forward to the official graduation ceremony on May 28th, 2025. For our Pacific Grove High School update, we have VAPA week going on this week, and we started with a rally on Tuesday, and our staff rock band was fantastic. All week, there were activities on campus to celebrate the visual and performing arts. Our cafe from Culinary had coffee and they had lots of desserts. There was t-shirt designing and ceramic tile / murals in our 3D art room. There's student bands playing throughout the halls, and we had a string quintet. Our Sadie's dance is going to be this Friday, and it's Western themed. Our prom is coming up on May 4th, and our senior Disneyland trip is on April 10th. We have graduation May 30th, 2025 at 5 p.m. in the Breaker Stadium. It is not at 3 p.m. as stated on the announcements that were delivered. That's it.
Thank you so much, and for the corrections as well. So we'll go now with board member comments and written communications. I'm going to start there were a lot of emails. I think I totaled up 16 emails regarding TK kindergarten class sizes at each site. One email about marine science for next year, and one email about in support of the ethnic studies curriculum. In terms of a comment, I was going to comment on VAPA week. I do have one of the VAPA t-shirts on, and I heard through the grapevine that about particularly the coffee cart and the request for an ongoing barista club. Maybe there's something that could come about and raise some money at future events. So that was one thing that came out. But just again, we're getting close to the April break. I know that a lot of staff and students are probably tired at this time of year, but we got about 2 more weeks or a little less than 2 more weeks just to plow through and get to that point. So I'll go around this way if there's any more emails I missed or comments.
Thank you. I had a couple more emails, one about birds in room 32 at PGMS. Another invitation from the Monterey Chamber of Commerce for their annual dinner. And then an additional email about PE in TK. As far as my board comments, I feel like we've been together a lot. Hi. Okay. Ooh, thank you. We've been together a lot the last like 6 weeks, last 5 out of 6 weeks as a board, with meetings. And I just wanted to thank you guys up here at the dais for being dedicated and committed and showing up. A highlight for me this week was that I got to attend the Ethnic Studies Information Night at the high school for incoming ninth grade families. And it was kind of the first opportunity for families to get a look at the curriculum that's going to be proposed for next year. And Dr. Hagquist did a wonderful job, as well as Brandy Lopez, who's going to be the ethnic studies teacher. And you can just tell her passion and love for the course she's going to be teaching, and how that's going to grow. But there were community partners present, and I felt that that really spoke to how this course was created. Partners from our Native American community, our local Asian American community, our African American community, and our Chicano Latinx community all came together to put this ethnic studies course together specifically for PGUSD, keeping in mind the communities and the diversity that we share right here on our Central Coast. And I loved the ending of it, which was just like, this is an ongoing discussion, right? We're all here to just keep learning about each other. What you don't know, like, just keep showing up. You just keep asking questions and thinking critically and being willing to have the conversation. And it felt like that was going to be possible in Miss Lopez's classroom, is to be able to have difficult conversations about differences and different subjects. So I'm really looking forward to that being a part of our programming in the future. So thank you, Dr. Hagquist and Miss Lopez and Dr. Adamson. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Trustee Otmar.
I received the same emails, so I won't repeat that. I'm going to keep my comment short. And it really is just to give kudos to the Room 32 art class, that they wrote us a letter about a bird that got trapped in the art room that came through a window, and requested screens be installed so that no other bird had to suffer the same trauma. And I thought that that was really, really cool that they did that they were looking out for a being beyond themselves. And so I just wanted to call that out. I thought that that was pretty awesome. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Schmaus.
Yeah. Is it on? I wanted to mention that Cesar Chavez Day was on Monday. And I'm not sure why it's not a holiday for us, but so I quizzed my grandson and his friend on, did they know who Cesar Chavez was? And to my surprise, my grandson's in 4th grade and his friend's in 3rd grade at Forest Grove, and they both did very well on my test. So the teachers are doing it, and I'm really proud of that, because I wasn't sure. And the other thing was, we had a great Rotary track meet on Saturday, and there was over 30 schools, and it's so invigorating with all those different kids and then the older people helping, and it was really a quite eventful day. They had a taco truck there. It was big. And then the other thing is, who is our student rep today? Did we introduce her?
It is Juliet, and she is standing in for William Howley. Do you want to introduce yourself, Juliet? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Juliet Souza. I'm a senior at Pacific Grove High School, and I'm the ASB vice president.
Oh, okay. Congratulations. And then it said on our thing that we were going to honor William, or we're not?
He was unable to be here this evening, so we are putting that off to our May 1st meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what I wouldn't want, I can just say it to Juliet. You can pass this on to William, but what I'm interested in is feedback from you guys about your experience as a student rep on the board. just to inform us about, what you think works or doesn't work for you. But I'd like to get some feedback from William and you too. So, thank you.
You, Beth, si se puede, and on to you, Trustee Watts.
Yes, I received the same emails. And just to, I know the culinary team is gone now, but it is so holistic in what they're teaching too. Like I saw with the coffee card, I think like there was a large degree of branding involved with that. And so because of the business and culinary taste, it's just a great opportunity to go cross disciplinary. I think I missed this last week, but I attended briefly the STEAM night at Forest Grove, where my daughter manned the 3D printer. But again, Mr. Bradley and everyone did a great job organizing that. So thank you. There's also a great PG Pride event that I saw Trustee Hazen and Chief Rogman at, many people. And it was great. Walked away with a lot of Legos as a bid winning. And I'd also like to congratulate the Breaker Bots on kind of their progress with a couple regionals and a Pinnacle regional, and then a San Francisco regional. Yeah, very cool. And then finally, on a personal note, I'd like to thank Crystal Gaudet for kind of organizing a mock trial field trip for fifth graders. We went down to the courthouse and they all did mock trial, which I had never done, and it was great. It was so informative, and it was an amazing experience, and they all seemed to really relish it. And unfortunately, I feel like Miss Patel's daughter did steal a cookie, so it's a tough break, but that's justice, and that was good.
Thank you so much for your comments. I have had so many meetings. I couldn't remember what was this week and last week and when we last gave comments. So it was good to everybody did a much better job than me at keeping track. So with that, we'll go to Superintendent Report, Dr. Adamson.
My goodness, you all had such great things to highlight this week. That was fun to hear. And some I've got in mind, so I'll just keep those briefer. That works really well. I really wanted to start with just a highlight of some of the community input opportunities that we've had available the last 2 weeks. There have been 3 that I want to make note of. And last week we had our TK and kindergarten guardian and parent night. And that was really well attended, both in person and online. So that was just neat, just our new incoming families, just that chance to be able to provide information, get a chance for them to, meet our teachers and our principals at the school sites and just ask some really good questions. So that's always a delight. We also had our LCAP community input session last week and also very well attended both in person and online. We were able to have 4 different smaller discussion groups that were led by some of our administrators and had a really good discussion group online as well, led by Director Binder. So really good input we were able to gather as a result of that, and kudos in that regard to Dr. Hagquist, who really is responsible for leading that up and leading the work that really goes into putting together our LCAP plan itself. That's our 3-year plan as a district that drives so much of what we do. And then our third engagement event that Trustee McNary already mentioned was our ethnic studies evening last night, which was predominantly for our incoming 8th grade families to really get a chance to get a sneak peek at the curriculum. We're really excited to be, preparing to launch this next year. We'll be piloting the program, obviously, but just as Trustee McNary, you said, kudos to, Dr. Hagquist and Ms. Brandy Lopez, who've really done so much of that work in working with our various organizations and our local partners who, really represent the 4 key ethnic groups that we'll be studying through that curriculum. For many of you who don't know, this is, it is a requirement through state legislation that we are, that we are able to offer an ethnic studies course for all of our students who will be graduating through the class of 2030. So next year is the first year we'll be offering it. And we're just excited about what that means. I think it just aligns so beautifully with our culture of we and our, 3 core values, belonging, safety, and prosperity. And that's definitely so much of what we heard last night that was reinforced by the feedback and the input that we received from our family members and community members who were there. And we're just excited about how this is going to continue to adjust and adapt prior to our putting it out to our larger community and then bringing it forward to the board for, official approval in June. So lots to look forward to there. Let's see, I think my second section, I've got four highlights to share. So number two, really just, I always try to highlight some of the big happenings at our various school sites. And so it's already been mentioned a few times, but Visual and Performing Arts, or VAPA Week at Pacific Grove High School this week was definitely a celebration of the arts. And to really be there on campus over those 3 days, it was a transformation. And I, look to the back and just see Principal Amira and Assistant Principal Keller. Just kudos to you and your team and students and staff for, putting on such a successful week. It was really just incredible to be a part of that. Just some of the highlights. We had chalk art, there were flash mobs, musical performances, live theatre, action art demonstrations, and then as you heard, our culinary arts, group were putting on the City Lights Coffee and Bookshop. There was also an ice cream throwdown where, students, and I think you mentioned it, Juliet, were given the chance to sample and vote on creative flavors created by our, culinary students. From what I understand, I got there at the end, so I didn't see the actual performance today, but I got to see it on video. But definitely a huge, hit at the end was the faculty rock band, from what I understand, with singer, Mr. Keller there at the back. Who knew? And how fun, but just how fun to see the students enjoying that and just everyone getting into the spirit. So really great job to Pacific Grove High School for putting that together. The second highlight I just wanted to, make mention of, we had at Forest Grove, they had their STEM night last Friday night, and from my understanding, just a really big success. We had with Mr. Bradley, heavily involved in the launching of Lego drones, 3D printed masterpieces, just really lots of opportunities for hands-on learning that students got to be immersed in. So, just kudos to Principal Arbrun and her staff, and clearly the PTA was heavily involved in that. Just that strong reminder of when we talk about, this culture of we can't do these things alone. And so just how critical it is, that we are able to have our parents and our guardians through our PTA to really help put on incredible events like that. So we're so grateful for that. And then really, I think the third, Juliet had mentioned, just the award that we have one of our community high school students will be receiving, Anthony Garcia Trinidad, the Every Student Succeeds Award. And this is something that I understand we maybe haven't given and presented in years past and taken advantage of. And so once again, kudos to Principal O'Meara for taking the initiative, getting the team together. It was an incredibly collaborative team with our community high school team in really being able to identify that student, and the fact that he gets selected right throughout our entire region out of so many students who had been nominated for that award, to really just the representative of the resilience that this particular student has shown. So there will be opportunity. We'll be bringing him here at a future board meeting to recognize officially, but just something really exciting for our students. My third highlight, just really a sports related, and again, it's been mentioned, we had our 55th annual Rotary track meet on Saturday, led by our coaches, Tracy and Ryan Travayel. And clearly, as you mentioned, Trustee Shamas, just a huge success, with so much going on. But, I think as I was reading the highlights from that, we had, there were a lot of alliterations that were used in the description. I just wanted to share it because it's so much fun saying them. Distance dominance, making leaps through the hurdles, let's see, the throw team showdown, and then relays rounded out. That just gives you a taste, right, of what was going on in one given day. So again, they're doing amazing things. I know they had another meet last night, and our girls, particularly the boys, I think they were up against Monte Vista Christian School, and really came to a victory with 81-61. With the girls, very close. It was they battled through. They fell short, but a very close final score there as well of 56-79. So just great job to them. And then just my closing. Yes, we have spring break coming up. Just in a little under two weeks, and just my message to everyone: take that time, right, to be with you, to just rest, relax, rejuvenate. Be with families and be do the time. It is a gift of time for our families and students to do some wonderful things to recharge as we get ready for this final stretch, because it's going to be here before we know it, but it's an exciting time of year for so many reasons. So back to you, President.
Excellent. Now we're on to communications item D, which is the safety report.
Thank you, President Dr. Hazen. Just one update tonight. It's related to our comprehensive school safety plans. This board approved our comprehensive school safety plans, or CSSPs, prior to March 1st, which is the obligation through California Department of Ed and the Monterey County Office of Education. We are doing a review, though, of the CSSPs, and we are now required through law to include educational continuity plans, which is a guideline to help schools stay open and learning continue during emergencies or disruptions like natural disasters or pandemics. Just some of the key components of what we're working on related to the CSSPs and folding in our educational continuity plan, technology access, communication planning, alternative instruction, support for our students who require additional support, and then monitoring and adjusting of that plan. And as everyone is aware, we bring the CSSPs forward every single year. We make revisions to those plans, and our team right now is working on a revision, which we do plan to bring back to the board in late May or in June prior to the July 1 start to revise the previously approved comprehensive school safety plans for the 25-26 school year. And that's my update. Thank you.
Great. So now we're on to section 5, which is individuals desiring to address the board. And this is a reminder, this is for non-agenda items. If there's an item coming later, please hold your comments, and I'll probably duplicate that. But public comment on any item of interest to the public that is within the board's jurisdiction will be heard. The board will also take public comment on each specific action item prior to board action on each item. So any individual wishing to comment on a specific item on the current agenda are kindly asked to wait until that item is being discussed. The board will allow a reasonable amount of time for public comment on each agenda item, not to exceed 3 minutes per speaker and no more than 20 minutes per agenda item, pursuant to board policy 9323. Speakers will be called sequentially until there is no speaker coming forward on the agenda item or the amount of time allocated for the agenda item has elapsed, whichever comes first. Please, if you do have similar comments to a previous speaker, try to provide some space or opportunity for other viewpoints, recognizing that 20-minute limit. Then also, please note this meeting of the Board of Education is a business meeting of the board conducted in public. So the Brown Act limits the board's ability to respond to public comment. The board may choose to direct items to the administration for action or place an item on a future agenda. So with that, we will start out with our community members that want to speak on non-agenda items. Please come forward or raise your hand online. So why don't we start online and then we'll go in person. Yeah.
Hi, this is Mike Gibbs. I think we're starting online first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to, you all have some tough decisions to make. And I'm just been sitting here thinking about the future of the young talent you're going to be producing over the next few years. And, I think about the programs that kids are going after. You had a lot of bright kids already up here in front of you. And the hard sciences and the technology, as you well know, are going to be the most attractive jobs, the most competitive situations, and the long-term career opportunities. Things like cybersecurity, astrophysics at Caltech, and those kind of things. I would just encourage the young students to set a goal. I'm going to go to Purdue and study cybersecurity, or I'm going to go to Berkeley and study something else. And there's been a lot of talk about successful entrepreneurs. Elon Musk right now is in the news, as most of you know, and he's created maybe some of the greatest companies over the past 100 years. I don't have to remind you, but companies like Starlink, excuse me, which now has 40,000 terminals in Ukraine, aiding the survival of their people and their soldiers. You just witnessed, if you didn't see it, go watch the YouTube video of SpaceX rescuing the 2 astronauts that were up in the space station. If you haven't seen his YouTube video of the $10,000 sustainable unfoldable house, it's a house in a box. It's really a neat thing he's been working on. And if you've seen the news, Neuralink is a company that he started to help people who are paralyzed and have other issues. And Neuralink just introduced a chip, and it's called Blind Sight. And he claims that by the end of this year, implanted people who have previously been blind will be able to to see. So, whatever you think of Elon Musk, and there's been a lot of protests and burnings of Teslas, he would be the model of somebody who is smart, gets things done, and has interesting technologies. If you're a student and you're looking to graduate and go to a school, do something that's going to hook on to an Elon Musk type company or kind of an inventor and a person. So my last suggestion is that the school district, you're going to be facing some very difficult money decisions, but every crisis is also an opportunity. Where could you put money into a high-tech, state-of-the-art science and technology program that will attract parents and students from the Bay Area, from Silicon Valley, to come to PGUSD and go to school? And I think you have that opportunity. I hope you grab a hold of it, and I'm here to help out if you need it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we'll go in the room.
Direction. One of the many things I love about being part of this district is that we strongly believe in being upstanders. So when the district hires people to represent us, it's important that we make sure they are representing our message as well. The culture of we, our belief that bullying and harassment is not acceptable, period. When we're made aware of this happening, we need to take action. Let's not be bystanders. Let's not push it off as someone else's issue to address. I truly believe that we are better than that. I love this district. I bleed Forest Grove Green. Let's do the right thing. So I'm asking the board, the superintendent, to do the right thing. Let's walk the talk. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else in the room or online?
Hello, my name is Caitlin Van Zanten. It sounds like you got my email, but I'm here in person because this is a really important issue to me. I live in Pacific Grove. I live within the district. My son is 5 and headed for kindergarten, and I have a little girl who's turning 4 next week, and she'd be eligible for TK. Due to my older son's birthday, we didn't enter him in TK last year because he was not eligible. Didn't make the cutoff, and we were worried he was going to start out behind all the students who had a year of TK under their belts. So finally getting him started, and hopefully her at our local school, is something we've really been looking forward to. At last week's orientation meeting, I really enjoyed hearing from the teachers who are going to be teaching all the students in Pacific Grove next year. I'm here tonight because during that same meeting, I was concerned to learn that we may not be allowed to attend our neighborhood school. We live 6 blocks from Robert Down Elementary School and within its boundary line. I've been looking forward to walking my kids there. All the other kids on our street walk to Robert Down every day, and we were hoping to be a part of that. Being moved away from our neighborhood school, even for a year, would be disruptive to our kids' education. And I don't think it would be disruptive to any child's education. And I don't want to see any of our kids moved around if they don't have to be, because they're going to make friends and make connections wherever they start. If Robert Down doesn't have enough teachers to teach the kids within its boundaries, then I'd like to see us hire another teacher so that we can teach those kids and keep class sizes down. I learned at the meeting that you could have up to 24 4-year-olds in a class, which would make it hard to meet the needs of those tiny, busy bodies and minds. I appreciate the budget constraints the district is facing. I don't envy your position. I think you have a lot of really tough decisions that you've been making, but I want to see our teachers supported in every way possible, and our kids as well. And I'm hoping that the decision to hire another teacher could be made sooner rather than later. We were told we may not know what school we're attending until this summer, and that makes it really difficult to make plans, and it creates a lot of anxiety that you can probably hear in my voice. And I just wanted to end by thanking you guys, because you take a lot of time to serve on this board and to do all this work, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for your comments. Dr. Adams, did you want to make a quick comment and just about the upcoming agenda item on that?
All I want to say is thank you, and that there may be, additional comments as well. We do have an agenda item towards the end of tonight that I was going to, speak to. No, and that's okay. No, I just really want to say, in case you're not planning on staying longer, I think just a quick little summary to that is really, so much of this is premature right now, and that's really what I'm going to say more about in the presentation. That really, goes into a little bit more detail about the fact that, we are in the pre-registration, mode right now, and for us to be able to make any definitive decisions, one way or the other, right, it's early. I think the one piece I do want to say that, as I say later on is, if program changes are needed and the enrollment is telling us that, we will absolutely, make that choice if that's what the need is. And so if we are looking at the kindergarten program, for example, and the numbers show once we open enrollment in May, that's where the need is, we are absolutely prepared to do that. I think what we're just asking at this time is, and I know it's hard, it's just, that patience and knowing that we are going to make the decisions. Our priority is always, and this is probably if this reassures at all, is to always place students first and foremost, if we can, at their neighborhood schools. And so, I think that's just to make those little comments, and there'll be more detail in the presentation later. Right. But again, thank you.
Another comment?
Yes, another comment. So I also am in a similar situation. I know that this is being addressed later. I have to go put my child to bed. So I have to run. And this is kinder specific because my student will be an incoming kinder, and he was not eligible for TK within the bounds. And so that is directly affecting us this year. If he was in TK, I would feel a lot more confident about his spot for next year. But because there is this chatter, it's directly affecting our family. We're really stressed out. I went to Robert Down. We live 2 blocks from the school, and we have been telling my son, this is your school. He knows where he is going to school. He has been excitedly talking about how he is an otter, how he's going to go to school where his mom went. And Dr. Adamson, you mentioned 3 times tonight about belonging and how it is a core value. How is my child, who's going to tell him that he has to go to Forest Grove when everybody on his block, all of his friends are walking to Robert Down? How is that going to make him feel this sense of belonging? And so I just really hope that you keep these core values in mind, and that I do think that we need a definitive answer, because these are young children, these are our babies, and this should be a time for us to be joyfully anticipating kindergarten and prepping our students for this transition, not being fearful and anxious about, are we gonna, we should know where we're going to school far before August or even the summer. So I really hope that you can keep that in mind and keep what's best for our children top of mind. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Anyone else in the room or online on the non-agenda items, community members? Okay. With that, it's now time for PGUSD staff comments on non-agenda items. No one rushing the mic. So I will go on to our item VI or 6 on the consent agenda. We have items A through H that we will open up for public comment, if anyone would like to say anything about the consent agenda. Okay. If not, board, any discussion on the consent agenda, anything that needs to be pulled? Right, seeing nothing, I'm now looking for our student rep. Any concerns or comments? Okay, none registered. So I would like to ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Also move.
Okay. And then a second?
I'll second.
So motion was made by Clerk Neri and seconded by Trustee Schmass. Student rep, would you like to vote first for us? Yes or no? Yeah. Yes. Yes, perfect. And then all in favor on the board, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If not, it passes 5-0. So now on to item 7, our action discussion. So the first item on that, I think we're going to get to hear from our Assistant Superintendent, Jorn. about our tran.
Yes. Thank you, President Dr. Hazen. So this is the 29th, not the 28th, but the 29th year the district has went out for a tax revenue anticipation note. So I bring this item forward every single year. We're bringing a resolution forward to adopt a tax revenue anticipation note of not to exceed $8 million. The district relies heavily on its property taxes, if not predominantly on its property taxes. And those of you that pay property taxes understand that it's April and December are when the property taxes receipts are due. So for a school district like ours that relies upon those property taxes for its revenue, when we start the school year, we're already about 4 months behind when we received our revenue, unlike a local control funding formula district that receives equal apportionments every single month. So by the time we hit the months of November, sometimes October, November, the district's ending fund balance or beginning balance in that year has already been depleted because we are awaiting our new property tax revenue influx, which is paid in December, realized by the district the first part of January. So almost 8 months go by without revenue to keep the district supported. Cash flow is key to running any sort of a business as well as a school district. We have liabilities every single month that we have to pay. And the TRAN this district has used successfully for 29 years to maintain those cash flow, to maintain the proper cash flow for this school district. So tonight I am bringing forward resolution number 1150 for the issuance of a tax revenue anticipation note for the 25-26 school year. And if there's any further questions, I'm available for that. Thank you.
Excellent. So we'll go ahead first to public comment. If there's anyone that wants to comment on our TRAN. One online. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Mike Gibbs again. And I want to thank Mr. Joran. I asked him a couple questions early in the week and he was very prompt in answering the questions. And I realized that this is a fairly regular calendar event, the TRAN. But I'm just thinking over the past couple of years, and it seems to me, and maybe somebody can answer this question, here we're looking at not to exceed $8 million. What was it last year? I think it was under $100,000. And if I remember right, the previous year was 50, something like that. Not sure. I could be quite wrong. And of course, it's unknowable for what it is this year, but a max of $8 million, knowing what's going on in the district now, I guess I'm just a little bit concerned about the, the top end amount. And that means it's available. You don't have to borrow that much. It could be $1 million or 6 or 7. But I think the paperwork that I read in the, excuse me, in the agenda report, in the packet, anticipated a shortfall in that September, November timeframe. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that the anticipated shortfall, excuse me, was $6 to $7 million, if I'm not wrong. So it seems like that's jumped up a little bit, well, more than a little bit. And I guess the question is, how is the money going to be used? I'm guessing to cover operating expenses. And, if you got a deficit between income and expenses, that's where it's going to be used, I'm guessing. And Mr. Jordan was very complete, and it looks like the interest rate's going to be somewhere around 2.8%. And then there's a COI, and which is basically a fee for that. And if you do borrow $8 million at that rate, you're looking at a couple $100,000 of interest and fees. The only thing I would say is that I just wish the school district was a little bit more transparent about the forward-looking budget. I had to dig around to find this information. I don't know if it's going to be covered in the newspaper or not, but it would be helpful for taxpayers in the community and parents to know how much money, how it's going to be used, and why are we facing such a large shortfall? Let's just put it that way. Last point is, I made a point just a few minutes ago, the district should be investing in leading edge technology to educate its students for 22nd century jobs. Let's just put it that way. Why not put aside, if you have the money, $100,000 and build a forward-looking cybersecurity program or astrophysics program in conjunction? Most colleges and universities let you dip in on Zoom and beam some of that stuff in. I think it would be.
Thank you so much for your comments. We're gonna go on. Any other public comment either in the room or online? Okay, seeing none, I'll now direct back to the board. Are there any? I'll look around, see if anyone wants to. Okay, yeah, Trustee Otmar, please.
Just for clarification's sake, what we're approving tonight is the maximum amount that we may borrow, and we are not discussing percentage rates or anything like that. It's just we're voting on the maximum amount.
That's correct. Yeah, the board will vote for a resolution not to exceed, and then that will come later.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Trustee Wax.
Just in regards to last year, which you answered to the board, we paid about 21,000 in a cost of issuance and 114,000 in the actual interest for the Tran. So it's about $35,000 per year, which is not nothing. If we had a larger reserve, maybe we could borrow even less, which would reduce our fees basically. But again, as you stated in your initial presentation, this is just because we get taxes at different times of the year and we have to pay people. So it's just a timing issue, which most districts seem to do in our situation. So all I'm saying is if we had a bigger reserve, that would be great. And we could possibly take a smaller Tran. But this all seems pretty good and normal to me. So thanks for your work on it. I know it's a lot of paperwork.
Yep. Just seconding on the point you brought up, Trustee Wax, about the fact that the reserve would help cover this. I mean, would we need about like a 24% reserve to not need a Tran issuance? Is that the right number?
That's pretty accurate. So the district has to carry above a 3% reserve for economic uncertainty, regardless of utilizing a Tran to interfund borrow, if that's what we're talking about. So yes, around 20% reserve for the interfund borrowing of the Tran, and then another 3% on top. So around 23%.
Okay, and then the only other question I was going to ask about that is, have there been any CSBA or statewide push to try to get basic aid districts paid alongside LCFF, or is that a non-starter? Because that would be another way to, if the state could cover some of that.
So this could be a board study session. Yes. You're either a basic aid district or you're an LCFF district based on a formula that is developed, and that formula is based on property tax revenue. So either your property tax revenue exceeds the LCFF base apportionment, I presented that in the second interim, or it does not. If you're underneath that base revenue, you receive a local control funding formula apportionment. If you're over it, you keep your tax revenue. And we are a basic aid district that is.
But I guess I'm asking, could the state actually provide the Tran itself? Like, could they actually fund us and we pay them back with property taxes? Or is that just like?
No, it's a private financing cash pool option.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I said it again, that unfortunately, unless we carry a 23% reserve, the Tran is a necessary part of doing our job. So thank you.
Yeah, at the same time, I think when you see $8 million not to exceed, it's kind of a big, scary number. So the questions, I think, make a lot of sense. And I agree with you, Trustee Wax, as we're moving forward and making long-term budget development a priority. This is definitely something to consider, how we want the Tran to be involved, or if we want to go another direction, because I think we've talked about this as a board, and it's like, what are the other options? And when you have cash flow shortages for some months and monthly expenses, we have to pay our bills essentially. So it feels straightforward. To me, it's like a loan. So if there's nothing else, I'm happy to make a motion on staff's recommendation on the item.
I'll second.
Yep. So motion was made by Clerk McNary, seconded by Trustee Otmar. Student rep.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not. The Tran passes 5-0. We look forward to seeing it again. The next step. So next item is resolution 1151. And I think Dr. Adamson, you're going to present quickly, and then we're going to hand the mic to.
Yes, well, this is something we do annually, and it's our pleasure to have Dr. Hagquist read the resolution for us in recognition of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Thank you, Dr. Hagquist.
Good evening, trustees. Larry Hagquist, Executive Director of Educational Services. I would like to dedicate this reading to my mother, who emigrated to this country in 1967, not long after she fell in love with an American GI who was stationed in Busan in Korea. This is after she was forced out of her homeland in North Korea and had to survive with her family in South Korea for some time. And it's my pleasure to read this dedication. Whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, AAPI Heritage Month, is an annual celebration that recognizes the historical and cultural contributions of individuals and groups of Asian and Pacific Islander descent to the United States, and whereas the Asian American and Pacific Islander community is an inherently diverse population composed of more than 45 distinct ethnicities and more than 100 language dialects, and whereas according to the July 1st, 2022 Census Bureau, Asians represent 6.1% and Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders make up 0.3% of the total population of the United States. And whereas California has the largest Asian American population in the United States and the second highest proportion of Asian American residents after Hawaii. And in the Pacific Grove Unified School District, Asian students make up 9.4% of the population. Pacific Islanders make up 0.6% of the student population. And whereas the month of May was selected for Asian Pacific American Heritage Month because the first Japanese immigrants arrived in the United States on May 7th, 1843, and the first transcontinental railroad was completed on May 10th, 1869, with substantial contributions from Chinese immigrants. And whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have played a key role in the American history since the first Chinese immigrants arrived to the United States in the 1950s following the California Gold Rush. And whereas there are numerous historical Asian Americans and Pacific Islander contributors to the United States, including activists, actors, architects, athletes, artists, authors, creators, doctors, entrepreneurs, inventors, musicians, performers, political leaders, scientists, singers, writers, and so many more. And whereas the Pacific Grove Unified School District celebrates Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month and recognizes the significant contributions that Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders offer to the community at large. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Pacific Grove Unified School District Board of Education hereby declare May 2025 as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. We urge all community members to join us in recognizing Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hagquist, and for the personal background on that. That means a lot. I'll open it up now for public comment. No one online, no one in the room. Board, any comment?
Shouldn't it be 1850, not 1950?
Yes.
Okay. And it's passed and adopted by us, not by Monterey Peninsula.
Also correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Two good points.
And I just want to point out that our amount of population in our district is, pretty substantial, and that's to be celebrated and recognized. And I'm glad to hear about Larry, and I hope that every time we do one of these, my mind thinks like, well, does it just get read and then lost, or not really followed up on in any meaningful way in the classrooms? And that's what I'm hoping that that we do have some curriculum that addresses this appropriately.
Very good points. I think the ethnic studies program really gives us an opportunity, and I'll follow your comment quickly just with the point about it's a very important history lesson to learn about the history of Pacific Grove and the Chinese fishing village, and even some of our more recent history where we've changed our internal celebrations to be more accurate with regards to past history. And I think that's another important reason, again, to have that, because of our city was founded in many ways upon the backs of Asian Americans. So any other comments?
Thank you for bringing that up. That was in my head too, but thank you for vocalizing it so well. I really appreciate that.
No, thank you for Dr. Hagquist's personal notes and recognizing this month. Just to follow up, I also worry about kind of just reading the resolution and nothing happening. But even before ethnic studies in high school, at least with prior months, my daughter has received specialized lessons about, particular contributors of note in Black History Month or Women's History Month and that sort of thing. So I think there is appropriate curriculum being developed or in place, across the schools, which is very heartening. So.
With that, I think I will go ahead and make a motion to approve Resolution 1151 as presented by Dr. Hagquist. Can I get a second? Good point. And yes, good point.
With the suggested corrections.
With the suggested corrections, I'll take that friendly amendment from Trustee Shavas and Trustee Otmar. Good point. So we will be adopting it with the suggested corrections. May I get a second on that?
Oh, I'll second.
Okay, motion made by myself, seconded by Trustee Otmar. Student trustee?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay. And I should say, when I go to you, Julia, please feel free if you have a comment you want to make too. Don't view it just as a vote, but we do value your voice in that. So thank you for participating. And now we're on to item C, the resolution 1152, proclaiming May as Mental Health Awareness Month.
Wonderful. Well, I know this is, very dear and near to all of our hearts. And later on the agenda is the adoption of the job descriptions for our mental health therapists. But again, just the ability for us to identify a month specifically to the needs of all individuals, right? It's not just about our students, it's really about our staff as well and our family members, just highlighting the importance and the need for us to, take that time for ourselves and take care of ourselves. And so it is my pleasure to invite Trustee Otmar to read this resolution for us. Thank you, Trustee Otmar.
To do this. This is resolution number 1152, resolution proclaiming May 2025 as Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas National Mental Health Awareness Month is an important opportunity to recognize the impact of mental health for all Americans, including students, teachers, and staff at the Pacific Grove Unified School District. And whereas we support and thank mental health service providers who work with people living with mental health conditions. And whereas our school district recognizes the importance of removing stigma from the conversation about mental health. And whereas, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, 1 in 5 adults in the United States experience a mental illness each year, and 1 in 6 youth aged 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder each year. And whereas suicide is the second leading cause of death among youth aged 10 to 14, and third leading cause of death for people aged 15 to 24, according to NAMI. And whereas our school district prioritizes the social, emotional, and mental well-being of students, and this school year invested more than 1.5 million of its LCAP funding toward mental health support. And whereas our school district works to provide additional mental health supports for students in need through Monterey County Behavioral Health, and now therefore be it resolved by the Pacific Grove Unified School District Board of Education that we recognize May 2025 as National Mental Health Awareness Month. And if I can just take a quick moment after that, just to say to anyone that's listening and everybody in the room that a big piece of this is listening. A lot of times we sit down with somebody and we listen just to speak, or we wait and listen just to speak or to relay our story in order to empathize with someone else. But there are times when someone's just trying to talk to get their message across. So I just want to encourage everybody in this room and everyone that's listening to just take a pause and listen. And if you hear something that's concerning, please talk to somebody, get help for somebody, reach out. It's an essential. And I've said this before, it's food, water, mental health. This is, at this point, it's survival. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Any other, I guess we now go to the public comment section. Any public comment on this resolution? Now on to the board comments. I'll start just with a quick one that I think all year is mental health year, particularly this year for me. And I'll give a shout out to my mental health therapist who has helped me get up in the morning and get through the day many times. So it's hopefully something that when I grew up, mental health and having a therapist was viewed a little bit as a negative thing, something made you weak. But the way you said it well, food, water, and mental health in this day and age, especially, it's very true. So I'm proud to say that mental health and therapy has been a big part of why I'm able to do what I do every day. So.
Yeah, I would just like to agree with both of you. And also on the aspect of listening that, suicide is something that sounds or is scary, and yet many, many people consider it. And so I just want to encourage people to not be afraid to discuss it if someone actually mentions it to them, not to freak out, but to go ahead and be, usually if someone actually says something about their own suicide, it's reaching out for help. So take that opportunity to be the helper.
I'll just say thank you, Trustee Atmar, for reading that as well. And sure, please.
I just wanted to take a second to give a really big thank you to all the mental health therapists in our district. They work very hard, and we're so fortunate to have people like that in this district. So thank you very much for the time and the dedication and the love you give to our students and probably some of the staff too.
Yes, Trustee Wax.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And then I didn't see you.
I will sort of to piggyback on, well, thank you for reading, and a great note about not living in the shadow of someone who is considering suicide or having ideation. But in terms of mental health, when we first came here and Chief Rogaman was the principal at Forest Grove, the amount of social emotional learning that he incorporated into the whole school, and now I see is district wide, is just such a change from the 80s, 90s. And it's so incredible, the way that everyone from 5-year-olds to 11-year-olds, the main people that I hang out with, really 6 technically, talk about their feelings, their emotions, and what's going on, is so valuable, not to them, but also to us as parents, and know what's going on. And then also, like Mr. Gibbs was talking about, for the economy ahead, there are going to be so many seismic shifts throughout the remaining decades of the 2000s, and being able to navigate those mentally is going to make you so much more adept at navigating the economy and the world. So social emotional learning and mental health are just so vital, as Trustee Otmar said, and it is a really big benefit to have such a great staff of therapists and counselors and helpers and teachers who just are so focused and keyed into what their students need. That's a great addition or great benefit.
Thank you. Trustee McNary, sorry, I overlooked you that time.
That's okay. I think it's all been covered really well at this point, and I do appreciate how seriously our district takes mental health and how important it is. And I, like you said, I think it's more than just mental health therapists. It's counselors, it's teachers, it's classified staff, it's your librarian or your custodian that might be the person who checks in with you. So thank you, everybody, for taking this seriously and for prioritizing the health and well-being of like everyone in our district, because it's a big deal. And for being willing to talk about it too. But yeah, that's all.
Great. Okay, thank you so much. So I'll see, anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, excellent. Can I get a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Or I should say motion to adopt the resolution was made by trustee Otmar and seconded by clerk McNary. Student trustee.
I just want to say I think our high school especially have done a really good job at promoting mental health awareness, and our leadership class, and specifically in past years for Mental Health Awareness Month, we've done a lot of like notes on lockers, on like little sticky notes and chalk art with positive messages, and we'll like write on the mirrors positive things, because the mental health month also happens to be the same month as finals, so it's kind of a lot for the students. So we've tried to do a lot to really encourage our students during that final month of school and make everyone feel good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So with that, I will do a roll call. Oh yeah, student trustee vote, I assume. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, and roll call vote. All in favor, please, not roll call vote. Everybody, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If not, it passes 5-0. Thank you very much. On to item D, the student computing device refresh plan. We have our director, Brian.
Good evening, Matthew Binder, Director of Ed Tech. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and just share with you a little bit of what we've been working on for the past several months. Oh, I am muted. I am muted. We've got a delay in here. Sure. Yeah. You good? Yeah, I am muted. There it is. All right. Get started. Thank you. All right, Director El-Ghazi and myself, we're glad to be here tonight. Sorry for that auditory disruption a moment ago. We've got, we're coming up on a crucial moment of decision regarding our Chromebook and iPad fleet. And we're going to share with you a plan that we've created with broad input from not only staff, IT staff, administration, teachers, but also students, as you'll see. Some of the considerations, as I mentioned, we're coming up here on year 5, 6 of our current Chromebook fleet, student devices. We bought these in 2020. They are the Dell 3100 model. They're coming to a point at which they're starting to show signs of slowing. We really have to take into account that they will be unsupported in 2029. So this is kind of our preemptive strategic plan to kind of get ahead of that inevitability. Our current iPads at the lower grade levels were kind of purchased across multiple years, and they're at pretty much in the middle of their lifespan. But you know how Apple is with their new product releases and the applications that can be installed on those products. They run a pretty tight business model timeline. Let's just put it that way. All right, next. We'll continue up. I'll give you a little glimpse of the process so you understand that this was actually a very comprehensive, thought-intensive process of the work involved. We did a across-the-board inventory to see what was going on with regards to the current performance, and also surveyed high school students, as I told you. We wanted to get some input on where the high school students felt about what their performance, what their current model performance features, and how that was matching their learning requirements. I want to thank Principal O'Mara at the high school for actually distributing that survey. We did some comparisons across the board of what was currently available in terms of model of Chromebooks, and then started really looking at pricing models and looking at competitive approaches to refresh plans. There's a number of different options. We can go with leasing, we can go with across the board purchase, we can go with incremental purchasing, and you'll see what we've kind of are proposing. Then we created a timeline, and this was based on not only that 2029 endpoint, and we kind of backwards mapped that, but we also looked at where things were with regards to our current fleet, and really wanting to extend the life of the current devices as much as possible to really get the full value out of them. We purchased those in 2020 in one foul swoop, and that was in the middle of the pandemic, and it really was a large sum to bring on 2,000 new Chromebooks into the district back then. So we were kind of looking at different ways of being a little bit more strategic and building in some flexibility around how we could actually move forward with a sustainable long-term plan of refreshing student devices. I'll come back to that timeline in a little bit. So let me give you some results in terms of the survey and what we looked at and what we were able to gather with our research on the model and the pricing evaluation that we did. And we'll go ahead and start with our students. They gave us some good input on what their preference was with regards to screen size. The current screen size is 11.5 for the Dell 3100s. Smaller than this, about the size of the tablet that you have in front of you, Mr. Wax. And so, yeah, so we were curious what the input was, what the feedback was from the high school students in particular. As you can see there, kind of there were only a quarter of the students surveyed that actually said that they were fine with it. But if you factor in non-preference as well as current size and slightly larger, it's a significant number of students that would probably prefer a larger Chromebook. Of all the features of their experience using Chromebooks, they want a faster device. Not surprising. I mean, these are 4 gigabyte 3100s are starting, like I've mentioned, starting to show their age. Okay, so that was overwhelming. And I definitely wanted to highlight the fact that the funding for anything that we're doing in our department, thankfully, and we have a lot to obviously a lot of appreciation to extend to the broader Pacific Grove community for passing the Measure A Ed Tech bond. That's where this funding is coming from. A little bit about the Ed Tech bond, as you might recall, 18 million over about 18 years, general obligation. We're, by the way, ahead of that by about 3 or 4 years in terms of our spending. In other words, we are saving more, so it's not lining up to 1 year, $1 million. We're actually ahead of it. We're actually probably based on, I believe it was a board decision to structure the spending at $750,000 a year, which has actually given us quite a bit of cushion. Tech projects and improvements, as you saw, is the main use of that source of funding. That includes hardware, software. That includes updating infrastructure and security. All right, so we did a competitive pricing evaluation with 4 of the leading technology providers in the industry. And we were able to look at what benefits each of these quotes would provide, what options were available under each of these quotes. And we settled on the one here at the very top. As you can see, go ahead and click it. One more click, there you go. Trofera is the company we're looking to go with because they really provided a nice package for us. They included asset tagging for inventory.
They included Wi-Fi configuration. They included free shipping on any returns for manufacturer defect or manufacturer warranty. They included enrollment in our enterprise system at a very reasonable price compared to some of the other vendors or the providers.
And all these features are going to save the tech team time.
Yeah,
by doing
absolutely.
things for us.
Absolutely. So the selected model was the HP G11. We actually, our first fleet purchased in 2015 was HP, G3 at the time. We're now up to G11, Fortis 14. It is, like I mentioned, slightly bigger, double the processing speed, and will obviously be a much more appropriate device, especially for the high school students. They're doing a lot more sophisticated work on these devices these days, and we think this is a good match. We arrived at this not only based on the high school survey feedback, but also getting a hold of this device along with the other 3 or 4 models. And we did a physical inspection top to bottom with the tech team, looked at everything from key placement to the thickness of the bevel and the bezel. And then we also looked at ports. We looked at the hinge, durability. So there was a lot that went into the decision to go back to HP. Along with, of course, manufacturer reputation and some of the customer feedback. If you really wanted to geek out on some of the tech specifics, there they are, but you can see 8 gig. We're going to 8 from 4. We're going to a 14-inch screen. We're also with an updated processor and high definition screen. All right. We feel the benefits for this kind of phased deployment are pretty obvious. I mean, we are now using Measure A incrementally instead of as a one-time lump sum, which gives us more flexibility when we're doing budget development. We've got a flexible installation schedule, as you saw in the timeline, but it also allows the tech team to really kind of deploy these devices more strategically, more targeted. And then we have extended use, most importantly, of our current fleet, because we can then shift them to the lower grade levels, fill holes, remove broken or damaged devices, and really get as much use out of those devices as we possibly can. So we are starting with the high school, not only because the need, I think the computing need is greatest at the high school, but also it gives us the opportunity to put larger devices in the hands of the larger students, and then we can then move those smaller units back to the other campuses, like I mentioned, just to really extend the life of those devices as much as we possibly can. As you can see here, it alternates between iPads at the very lowest grade level. We will start at first grade and then shift those down again to kinder. This is a direct replacement. We're not showering these campuses with more devices. We are removing what's there and replacing new and updated and more powerful and higher performance devices. And as you can see, it just works its way across the timeline. So happy to take any questions you have about our process, about how we arrived at this proposal. And definitely want to give some acknowledgement to our tech team across the board. Director El-Ghazi has been working with me closely on this, and we definitely couldn't have done it without all those involved. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Director Binder. With that, we'll open up, as usual, to public comment, either online or in the room. If not, we will go to the board. Is there anyone that would like to make a comment or question? Trustee McNary and then Trustee Wax.
Thank you for the presentation. And I appreciate you answered one of my questions already about what we're doing with the devices after they leave the high school. And it sounds like they're going to be used at lower level sites until the end of life or until
As much
those are
as possible.
replaced.
Yeah.
Okay, that works. I noticed we didn't go with the lowest quote. Can you just explain a little bit more about why we chose this vendor, why we chose the vendor?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mentioned some of the the features that were included in this quote that were absent on those others. That
Okay.
includes like the asset tagging, inventory management already set up. They're actually labeling those for us. They're enrolling them in our Wi-Fi system. So when a student opens it up, it already connects and logs in. We have also buyback options with this vendor for some of our Dell 3100s that we know we're going to have a surplus of eventually. They're giving us top dollar on buyback, and if they're destroyed or damaged, they will actually pay us a $5 per unit recycling fee just to give those devices to them. So those are the kind of benefits that we recognize with this provider compared to others.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I think my last question is just kind of thinking about the world of tech, and it changes so much. So if we're doing a 3-year plan to buy Chromebooks, I guess the way my mind kind of works is like, if we're choosing a Chromebook today and we're not going to be putting it in a classroom for 3 years, or like we're selecting a product today
I think just
for the first rollout only.
Yeah.
Your first rollout is fall 26.
Thank you.
Or
So
fall
we're
25.
not, okay.
Yeah, next fall.
And so moving forward, that was my question, was like, if we're making this plan, are we buying this product? And then moving forward, as technology improves or changes, we've committed to a product that is now, outdated and slow and all those things.
Yeah, no, and that's valid, but we will be receiving these upon approval, and they will be deployed this summer so that students can start using these devices in phase 1 of this
Okay.
plan in the fall.
Okay, and will this contract come back to the board?
So what we're asking for is approval for just phase 1, which is the Chromebooks at the high school. Correct.
Thank you for the clarification. I really appreciate it.
Just for clarification, right now we're getting,
That's
we're
okay.
getting the HPs now for this phase. As you say, technology changes, we may go to a different vendor and a different product for the next phase.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was curious about. If-
We're gonna
yeah.
do everything we can to keep it consistent, of course, just so that there's some uniformity in the fleet. But yeah, things are gonna change. We know that rapidly.
Yeah,
But we're ahead of it right now, I think, with this approach.
I appreciate the answers and the clarification. Thank you.
Sorry for answering.
It's all good.
Trustee Wax, you still have a comment or question?
Yes. So would it be, first of all, because of Apple's retail scheme, whatever, there's no outside vendor. It's just their straight education discount for the iPads that would be purchased. That would be phase 2, I guess.
Correct. And there are some resellers that will work with school districts and buying in bulk iPads, not directly from Apple, and they do offer warranties as well. We are exploring that. We've got some time to look at the best pricing. We have purchased directly from Apple in the past, and we've also purchased intermittently some iPads in really on an urgent basis if we know we need some quickly. You may have recognized some of those requests on past Measure A lists from a provider, non-Apple provider, but with full manufacturer warranty, and in some cases extended warranty, and in some cases a lower price. And these are right out of the box, just like you would buy from Apple.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess, so I had a couple of questions about with the iPads, are protection cases and screen protection figured into what you eventually will bring to us? Okay.
Yeah, that will be included in the package for sure.
And so the Chromebooks that you're recommending have a military standard. The PDF is very long, but basically these are okay to be dropped. And
yeah, they're reinforced edges around the main unit. From what we understand, reading further into that description, it sounds like an industry like slogan. Quite honestly, it's like when I think military, I think like it's a reinforced hard shell case. But they use that term quite loosely, and I think it just means that they've reinforced the plastic around the main body of the device, really. And they have to do it within a certain width, and then they can claim it's what you just
that military.
Yeah.
And then one more quick question for you. In terms, maybe this isn't your area, I guess, but is there any thought of like doing a pilot or a smaller cohort of devices that are not iPads, like maybe like some e-ink readers or something for, because, you know, I only know what my kids do. A lot of Google Slides, which makes sense for a Chromebook, I guess, but some of the other things that I'm not sure if the full capabilities of an iPad or Chromebook even are beneficial or kind of overpowered in some way. Basically, if there would be different learning outcomes with a color e-ink or an e-ink device of some sort.
So it's interesting you mentioned this because we did actually reference some language in our ed tech plan to this effect. In other words, we would be researching options, other options, alternatives to the iPad that were basically more Google friendly, I guess you could say, since that's eventually where students are headed into the enterprise system of Google. But based on the feedback that we've received from our primary level teachers, first kinder teachers, you know, the applications, the apps that are available for iPads are far, you know, varied and more available, more readily available compared to what's available on other tablet types. Like, I guess you could say it would be like, yeah, it would be like Android would be the alternative. There's really a limited number of learning applications compared to iPad. So we've kind of shelved that a little bit, but there, you know, I was in a T-Mobile store the other day. I had to upgrade my phone, speaking of, and they've got basically a tablet version of you know, I guess a Samsung Galaxy or something, and it looks pretty nifty, but it seemed to be pretty inexpensive compared to a new iPad. But you know, this is where things are headed, and we'll continue to look and do a scan across the environment, see what's available, and if we have an alternative, we'll bring the teachers in and do some piloting. Yeah, for sure. But right now, I think the iPad is really still the leading device of choice for the primary level.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask a quick question, and it's going to start with an assumption. So anyone, please feel free to tell me my assumption is incorrect. But I mean, if processing needs are greatest at the high school, would it make any sense to do kind of a like trickle down approach to buying new devices at the high school, then passing them to middle school and passing on? Apologies to middle school principals and elementary school principals in the room, but just thinking from a processing standpoint, is that something that's
It's an interesting idea. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it can be done for sure. I mean, I'm sure there's ways of managing that kind of rollout. These are deployed, they're put in cabinets. It takes basically the entire tech team probably a few days to get these into a certain school. And then, you know, combining that. So there could be some logistical challenges with making that work. Not to say that it can't happen. We'll take a look at that. I think that's an interesting idea.
Up in the parking lot, we can, you know, please reach out to the site admins.
Yeah. If it comes to a point where I think, you know, we're looking at that third phase with the middle school, getting their fleet, and now we've got HP G15 or something along those lines that are available for the same price point. That might be a worthy endeavor.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great.
I don't have a question really. I just wanted to say, thank you for checking with the students because that's important. And now they can feel heard and have bigger screens and a faster
processor. Yeah.
Faster processor. But yeah, I think it's great that you checked in, and thank you, Principal O'Meara, for distributing the surveys too.
Yeah, it was very revealing. I mean, some of their input was, I mean, because we gave them some free text, you know, option to response to what are some other comments, and you know, surprisingly none of them or not none of them, but definitely very few of them wanted a touch screen. We also asked about that.
Well, I was surprised that they didn't that the screen size was mid-ranged. It wasn't the largest. So I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah,
it's great you asked. Thanks for that.
Very, very cool. So can I go ahead and get do you have another comment? Even with my early comments, go right ahead. I'm looking at you, Trustee West.
This is more a question for another trustee, Juliet. As I'm not in a high school how are these deployed? Like, are they ebooks, like e-textbooks used on these devices, or are you using these to do work like Google Classroom stuff, that sort of thing?
In most of my classes, at least, we just use it for Google Classroom or like multiple projects that we're working on, like Google Docs or Google Slides. And we do less like of the e-textbook. We just use normal textbooks in our classes.
Yeah.
With that, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'd like to talk. No, I'm just kidding.
Motion.
I will so move.
Yes, I will second. That so motion was made by trustee Otmar and seconded by grumpy trustee Hazen. Yeah. So with that, a student trustee, thank you for your comments. Any more you'd like to add or vote? Yeah, you're on that?
I'd vote yes.
Okay, awesome. And a reminder, we're voting for just the first year plan here. All in favor on the board, please say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. It passes 5-0, and I'm going to declare a 5-minute recess for mental health. Reconvening now at 8:44, and we're on item E under action discussion, the mental health therapist itinerant job description. And Chief Director Rogaman is waiting so patiently up at the microphone because he's going to be presenting to us next.
Thank you very much, President Hazen. Once again, I'm Buck Rogaman, the Chief Human Resources Officer for the district, and I'm bringing before you today the job description for the mental health therapist itinerant. You will recall through our budget discussions that we are restructuring the mental health therapist position in the district so that we can serve our students with disabilities with district employees that fall under the designation of mental health therapist. We first had mental health therapists brought to this district in 2022 using funding from that we got from both the federal and state government for COVID relief. When that funding expired, we absorbed the cost of our mental health therapists with the general fund. As we're looking to reduce the burden on the general fund, we realized that 2 of those mental health positions could be funded from the expenditures that we were making for a contract for services with Monterey County Behavioral Health, and a third mental health position could be funded with one-time funding from Resource 6762. It is one-time music arts and discretionary grant. So 2 of the positions would be a permanent track. One of the positions would be temporary for 25-26 as the district looks to see what kind of adjustments can be made due to the budget so that we could in the long term, make that third position possibly permanent beginning in 26-27. But what is before you tonight is just the job description that has the services for students with disabilities included in that job description. In the document that's in the board packet and that's before you this evening, the new language is red, and any language that's been stricken has also been stricken in red. And so really the biggest difference is that the mental health therapist now would be able to serve the needs of our students with disabilities, in addition to the gen ed students that they currently serve. So I'm happy to answer any questions from the board at this time.
Thank you very much. And we will go out to our favorite people, the public, for their comments first. And not our favorite, but one of our favorite people, I should say. And then now back to the board, if there's any comments or questions for Buck on this position. Trustee Shamas, yeah.
Well, I don't want to take up too much time, so.
Music to my ears.
I am. So I highlighted just some questions about the duties, and only because I'm just interested in how some of these things will materialize. But I'm thinking that maybe this is not the time to question some of this. It's not questioning. I just want to have a little discussion about it, but this might not be the time to do that. So I would just make one comment, and that would be that we consider making use of the adult ed program when it comes to parents and helping them know more about mental health issues of students. Because in this description, the job description, it mentions a lot about the therapist, communicating with parents, and we know that takes a lot of time. And there's hopefully we're going to have a later discussion about how we implement our mental health curriculum. So I'm just going to throw that out there for Barbara to chew on. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Otmar.
I may be brief. My question is about the change in the essential functions, the duties of the essential functions. The IEP process can be very involved and can be very time consuming. So the concern that I have about the duties for the mental health therapists, including IEPs, my concern is that the time that is remaining for general student counsel or general student mental health assessments or needs, that there may be a gap there. Because when I'm looking at this, it talks about, maintaining case management records, intake forms, upload service logs, conduct mental health assessments of students with disabilities as part of the IEP, evaluate students with disabilities, social emotional needs, develop appropriate intervention strategies. I know as it stands, this doesn't even, I'm going to make the assumption that this also includes 504s, but as it stands, I know that even just dealing with 504s can be time consuming. And so if we have 3 mental health therapists and they're itinerant, the needs of IEPs across the district, I don't see how there's going to be a lot of time left over that could be utilized for just general mental health needs. And so that's very concerning to me. I wonder if you can
Sure. So I'm going to take a stab at trying to address that. And then if I leave any gaps, I'd welcome Executive Director Court Anthony to come up and talk a little bit about that. I think that one of the things that you see in the bullet that you talked about, to maintain the case management records, such as intake forms, treatment plans, progress notes, referrals, and any other pertinent logs. Those are the kinds of things that mental health therapists do on a routine basis with all the students that they serve. So like those specific duties would not add to the current load that they carry. When you're talking specifically about the IEP responsibilities that the mental health therapists are going to have, they will not be involved in the case management of students that are on an IEP. They are going to be another service provider that will make a contribution to the services that a student receives. So the resource specialist, a special day class teacher, they are the ones that are going to carry the caseload that would be the ones that are in charge of drafting the entire IEP document. And then the mental health therapist will make a contribution to that document, but it's going to be specifically to the mental health needs that the students have. So I think as far as the demand for the IEP, the mental health therapist is going to be responsible for helping to set a mental health goal, and then also provide the services that are in the IEP for the counseling and the therapy that's going to go toward helping achieve that mental health goal. So it's going to be kind of a blend of the services that they are going to provide to the gen ed students, and then also rise that level of service for students that are on an IEP. Clearly, it's going to be more of a demand than they currently have on their job. I don't want to misrepresent that, but we wouldn't bring forth this model if we didn't think we'd still be able to serve the needs of the gen ed students. I think also one of the great things that came out of the budget meeting is an awareness that we don't want to provide services in isolation of each other, that we want a coordinated approach to addressing the mental health of our students. So not only, we don't want the mental health of our district to be the sole responsibility of mental health therapists. That we've got great counselors that also are going to be, involved in this. We want to expand the program by bringing in CSUMB students who are, working toward their credentials. But also we want to continue to improve the ability of all staff to address our students in a way that's sensitive to their mental health needs. It's been, having been in the district for as long as I have, it's been inspiring to see, the advance that we've made in our awareness with regard to mental health of our students. Even with the resolution that we passed here this evening, I think it's appropriate that we bring forward this job description and have this discussion on a night where, we're talking about the value of mental health to the district. And I know I'm starting to go on, President Hazen, and I apologize for that. However, I hope that sheds some light on sort of what the mental health therapist role is going to be in the IEP process. Yes, they're going to attend the meetings of the students that they're providing services to on the IEP, and their contribution to those meetings is they're going to have the goals for that student, and then also give a progress report on how the student is doing. And so will eat into the time that they could provide service to the gen ed students. Yet, we think that having 3 of them on staff for the district is still going to be able to provide that good pull-out support that our gen ed students will need as well.
Cool. And do you see this kind of lifting some of the strain that's been on the counselors so that they're going to get a little bit of like breathing room that they can actually get out and be with? Because it's like you said, I mean, we don't just have mental health therapists, there's also counselors and teachers and all that. But do you foresee this giving them a little bit of space that they can?
Right. Some of the feedback that we've gotten from the counselors is what a benefit it has been to the district having the mental health therapists, involved in addressing these needs of our students. So by keeping 3 in the district, I think we maintain some support for our counselors in that manner. When we've talked about the benefit of the mental health therapists being, employees of the district and also serving our students with disabilities, I think that the benefit we're going to realize is that feeling of ownership and belonging. And we talk about those priorities for the district for our students, but it's also for our adults. And when we have the mental health therapists that are part of, a PG family serving our students and our students with disabilities, I think that our efficiency in serving our students with disabilities is going to increase. And by that, I mean, they won't be going to one person for the special ed services and then going to another person if they need something outside of that special ed service, right? It's going to be the same person that can serve both those needs. And that will be a more efficient model than what we have now.
And then just a final thing is, and I believe that this is what's happening, but just that the district is checking in with the mental health therapists and the counselors to make sure that they have what they need and that they're not being spread too thin, that there's not a feeling of overwhelm.
Right. And I think that, when we talk about trying to put together a mental health team That's going to help to systematize those check-ins. And I know that Executive Director Court Anthony has, is it monthly meetings? Monthly meetings with, not only the mental health therapists and the counselors, but the school psychologists as well. And so there's an opportunity for, a conversation to take place along those lines at those meetings.
Well, because I want to make sure their mental health is okay too.
That was 100%.
Okay.
Help yourself first, right?
Well, yeah. Yep. Okay. Thank you for that.
Sure.
A quick clarification. Does every IEP necessitate a mental health therapist?
No.
Okay. Okay. Do you have a rough number?
You know what? I don't have a rough number, but in my own experience at the elementary school, and Yolanda help me out, but I would say the vast majority do not. Is it safe to say that? Yes, that the vast majority do not include mental health as part of the services.
Great. I'm excited to hopefully bring this back on because that's what we voted on a few weeks ago, and I'm glad that we're hopefully holding up our end of the bargain. So thanks.
Right. With that, does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the job description as presented.
Second.
I'll second that.
A motion made by Clerk Mary and seconded by Trustee Schross. Wait a second. Yes, no, we're good. And I will say all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Right, that passes 5-0. I was forgetting to go to the student trustee, but I don't need to do that since she has gone home to hopefully do a little bit of homework, not too much. Okay, with that, we have again, Chief Rogaman on item F.
Thank you, President Hazen. And I'm excited to bring this job description forward along with a couple of MOUs that are going to establish a vocational assistant culinary arts position within the district. When this one comes with a little bit of a story. For the past 2 years, there has been an instructional assistant. This year and last year, there's been an instructional assistant serving in the culinary arts program. And this year we did not have, or we weren't able to fill the instructional assistant position. So we hired a substitute, and the substitute served for more than 60 days. And when someone serves for more than 60 days in a CSEA position or a classified role, they are entitled to permanency status within that, and meaning that they can be put on a probationary track for that job that they're serving in. So the first memorandum of understanding you're going to have is the one that establishes the permanency rights for a job that began on August 23rd, and the permanency rights are going to begin on October 22nd, serving as an instructional assistant. What we realized when we took a look at the instructional assistant job for culinary arts is that because it's part of the career tech ed tract, and the responsibilities of an assistant in that class are different than kind of a gen ed in instructional aid, we realized that the district had a need for vocational assistance. So we worked with our CSEA local representatives, our CSEA local president, Leslie Turinello, and our representative, Sarah Herrera, and put together a job description, working also with Jen Erickson, who was here earlier, as well as Amanda Anderson, who was serving in the role at that time, and put together a job description that really fit the role of a culinary assistant. So we put together that job description and established a pay range. And so the second memorandum of understanding that you're going to see here tonight establishes that voc ed assistant culinary position, and makes it retroactive to January 1st, 2025. That is going to establish the date that would be the date of hire for that position. Okay. However, the date of hire for the employee is October 22nd. Okay. It's kind of confusing, and I'm happy to explain if you have questions. But the third document that you see then is actually the job description, which also is going to require trustee approval tonight. So to summarize, the first MOU establishes the date of hire for the employee in an instructional assistant role. The second MOU establishes the vocational assistant culinary arts, and that's going to be retroactive to January 1st, 2025. It's the same employee that is going to go from being an instructional assistant to the vocational assistant culinary arts. And then the third thing that we're approving is the job description.
Okay. We'll open up to the public here. If there's any comments or questions. None online and none in the room. Yes, trustee Rex.
I guess this is possibly most about the last item that we just approved, but also goes along with this. There was no range on the previous job description, and there's a range on this job description for vocational assistant.
So it's one of the changes that we're looking to make in the human resources department is to begin to include the ranges on all of the job descriptions as well. I know you asked me a question and I'm giving a long answer, but as part of a classification and compensation study that we're currently negotiating with CSEA, we want to put together a standardized job description that would be modeled after the one that you're seeing here before you. So the previous range for an instructional, the range for an instructional assistant is 30. For an instructional assistant working in special ed, it's 31.
Okay, but I mean, the job description for the mental health therapist, there's no range.
Okay, and that is because it's not a CSEA position. It is a classified job, but it's not represented by that union.
Okay, thanks for that.
Okay, sorry, I didn't understand. I thought you meant the previous job description for this.
But so this new vocational assistant position is really dependent on the CTE program. And if the CTE program goes away, then this person just becomes a regular instructional assistant? Or?
That's an excellent question. If the CTE program went away and the person was placed in another position, we would have to negotiate the reduction of the position with CSEA and identify where that person should land. And if that person landed at a job that was receiving a reduction in pay, then that has to get negotiated with. Basically, it's a layoff, right? So if the program goes away and the position goes away, then it's a layoff. And the importance of the employee being an instructional assistant and getting a date of hire of October 22nd is that employee then would have the seniority rights over any employee that's hired after that date of hire in the role of instructional assistant.
And is it kind of the norm now for CTE classes that they have a specified
assistant?
Assistant.
This is the only job description that we have in the district right now for.
Right, but in other districts,
So sorry.
That's all right.
So other districts will have vocational assistants that serve other classes. There might be a vocational assistant for a CTE class for auto. Right. And so that's the reason why this is vocational assistant -- culinary. If the district expands its CTE program and one of those classes necessitates an aide, I would anticipate working with CSEA to develop a job description that would be specific for that CTE assistant.
Okay.
Okay.
So I have a question about the increase in expenditure. I've got a couple questions.
Sure.
We'll start with the increase in expenditure. So this person has been working as an aide, and now that there's a position being created, there's an expenditure increase. I guess I would like to clarify why.
So the increase is reflecting the change of the job going from an instructional assistant, which was paid at range 30, to being a vocational assistant, culinary arts at a range 34. And the reason why the range was increased is because there's elements of this job that require a higher level of certification than we require of our in instructional assistants. Plus, this person is going to be responsible for supervising a kitchen and helping to ensure that proper safety is being used around things like sharp knives and that. So because of the greater responsibilities in that nature, the compensation level was negotiated at a range 34.
Can you tell me what the annual rate is for range 34?
I'd have to look at the salary schedule. Yeah. So the difference between 30 and 34 is what you see. So when it says the expenditure increase of 1,228 to Fund 01, that's this year, because it's only a portion of the year. It's from January 1st until the end of the school year. For next year, the difference is going to be an increase of $2,470.
So I'm about to say something that's going to be really unpopular. So here it goes. We've just had a riff, as everyone knows, and as I sit here, this didn't really occur to me until I'm looking at this and we're talking about expenditure. I guess I do have a problem with creating a position when we've just had riffs. So my preference is not to create this position. And I don't know how many kids are in the class at one time. I understand that Chef Jen probably needs an assistant. I don't know if that would be a full-time assistant, but I think that this is something we need to look at. If this is not a permanent position now, and this person is there as a substitute, basically, that this is an opportunity to reevaluate and perhaps save some money as opposed to creating a position. And part of the reason that I'm bringing this up is when we were doing the riffs, I said out loud, I think we've said yes too many times. And this is an opportunity for me to question it and to look at this and kind of, I guess, say no and ask that it be brought back as something that's less than full time, or if we can reevaluate this. I'm just not comfortable, I don't think. And I'm sorry I didn't give you any heads up about it, but it's just sort of coming out now.
Okay.
Thank you.
One just quick follow-up on from that is my understanding from the presentation is this is a position that we were unable to fill in the past. This is one we floated in the past. Is that correct?
Correct. That we had an instructional assistant working in the class last year. And so this year we sought to have an instructional assistant working in the class as well. We weren't, we did not find one. So we hired a substitute.
Right.
The substitute worked out great. And so we were able to employ the person as the instructional assistant. So this is a position that currently exists as an instructional assistant. So it would actually require us to do a layoff.
Right. Which we,
and the deadline is passed.
The deadline's passed for that. So yeah. So the other question I was going to ask on that is just like, what would this student loss be? So having this assistant, I assume, allows for a larger class size. Is that correct? Like, so.
It does. And having the assistant in the class, one of the things that's been really impressive with Chef Jen is that she's welcomed in students of all like neurotypical abilities. And so it also allows for the safe, inclusion of some students as well.
Thank you. That's all my questions. But thank you for the point brought up, Trustee Otmar, and thanks for the response.
And I think one more thing is, we're going to be discussing TK and Kinder later. And I'm not prepared to make a decision about this. I do not think that we should add another position. I think that if we have an instructional aid position that could be utilized in other areas of the school, I'm just not comfortable with this right now, and perhaps it can be brought back at a later time after we've discussed TK and Kinder, because that also has to do with finance. And just in the spirit of that, I would much rather see this at a later time. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but that's where I'm at.
I'll chime in. What I'm hearing is that this position existed and was floated because there is a program need, like our culinary program is growing and we have a need for the program to have expanded, I don't know, teacher participation, instructional leadership, whatever. So is that how this came about?
Yes, that the demands of running the culinary program, necessitated the hiring of an instructional assistant, and that occurred last year.
Okay.
That instructional assistant position was added last year. This is just reclassifying the position more appropriately to serve the needs of a culinary class.
Okay, and that makes sense. And I think the reason we have this in our binder is because of kind of the odd nature in which the hiring process took place. I think that there's like a bigger picture than it's a new position. It's a job that we currently have existing and filled in a capacity that we're now going to update and change the job description, probably because that's something we're really working on across the board. In addition to it makes sense in this situation. I don't see it as a quote new position. That way, it just seems like this is kind of just a weird way to get to establishing like the position within our district having 2 MOUs, and then a job description isn't kind of the norm. But I am comfortable with the slight expenditure increase. This doesn't feel like big piece of the budget discussion. It's more about like making sure our students have what they need in this program that's already being funded and already has someone serving in that role. So it's being utilized and it's valuable. So I'm in favor of moving forward with the proposal and the slight increase in expenditures of $2,000 for next year.
Yeah, and I will agree with your comments, Trustee Otmar, that it doesn't feel right to be adding costs given what we've been doing, but at the same time, this is a small cost, and we can't cut the position because there were notices have passed. Even if we wanted to, that would have been something we would have had to decide on. And this is something that's gone through CSEA negotiations as well. So I do feel doesn't feel 100% right, just again because we're trying to be austere, but I do think in this point I am in support of these MOUs as presented.
Buck, I think you may have mentioned this, but why is the immediate expenditure increase of $1,200 less than the annual increase of $2,400?
Excellent question. The immediate increase is the retroactive payment that's going to make up for the difference between being an instructional assistant and the voc ed assistant culinary that begins on January 1st, 2025. Okay.
Gotcha. Sorry about that.
Yeah, if I may, so it is important because the fiscal impact, the cover page says to fund 01, that's incorrect. This is tied to restricted resources to our CTIG program and our GSPP grant. I'm sorry, I just needed the point of clarification.
Mr. Keller wanted to say right at the beginning, and so we're so sorry. It was right in the throes of all of the trustees having their comments, and so had we allowed that at that moment, it would have probably prevented a little bit of this. So yeah.
I'm going to propose a motion with that new information, particularly that we pass the MOUs as presented. If anyone wants to second, or do you want to make a? Yeah.
To confirm, this is coming out of CTE.
Correct, which is grant funding. Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Take back everything.
Okay.
We also
have a motion on the table. Could I get a second for that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so motion was made by trustee Hazen and seconded by trustee Wax. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye, please don't be mad, Chef Jen.
All opposed. So it passes 5-0. So there's no reason to be mad. Next, we have the proposed board calendar, Dr. Adamson.
Wonderful. I'm just going to say you made a comment earlier, Trustee Armour, about just being brave, and sometimes we are brave and we say the things, and again apologies. All right. Well, the board calendar, we are, what I'm presenting to you is a slight change for our next meeting in April. We had the special meeting originally scheduled for April 24th. We're proposing a change of the date to April 22nd. A reminder that will be our LCAP study session. I want to just assure that that works for everyone. And once that is approved tonight, we'll go ahead and change that on the master calendar as well. Any comments or concerns with that change?
I have a question. Oh, public comment first.
Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on our board calendar? I was checking my calendar just to make sure that I had that marked, but if not, we'll go to the board and see. I think Clerk McNary and then Trustee Wax.
I think one item that's listed on our agenda for tonight's meeting is the school resource officer update. And that's not on our agenda for tonight, which is totally okay. But I think if we're planning on moving it forward, to me, it's really important, like for the public to be able to track issues and things that may be of interest to them, for like them to know when our meetings are, and kind of during an LCAP study session on a Tuesday doesn't feel as accessible and community oriented as maybe having that discussion in another way. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
We'd be open to moving it to May 1st if the board makes that as a preference, and in that way, you're right, the LCAP can be solely dedicated to that for the 22nd if the rest of the board agrees.
We're putting the SRO contract on May 1st, since we bumped it from tonight because the city wasn't ready.
Oh.
And you're looking at your calendar, not at your short details right now.
Appointment. April 22nd. I can change
As
it.
long as it's before 5:30.
No, they're usually at 5.
Okay.
No, I'm good with her.
Okay. With that, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the calendar as modified with May 1st on the SRO and the 22nd being the date for the LCAP study session instead of the 24th.
And that will start at 5:30?
That will start at 5:30. We could propose it potentially starting at 6. If you get back to us and you aren't able to change your important appointment, I'm happy to consider it later.
Let's keep it consistent.
But I do want everyone there. So yes, I'll just say, let us know right now. Yes, we're approving it as 5:30.
I second the motion or the proposed board calendar.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It passes 5-0. Motion made by myself and seconded by Trustee Watts. So we're now on to item 8, the information discussion. And this first item, I think Josh has a guest from the East Coast joining us on the facilities master plan progress update.
I do. Thank you, President Dr. Hazen. We have Norissa Sparks online, but before she is ready to present, and we appreciate her sticking with us tonight. We are giving a progress update to the facilities master plan. On your board cover page, you can see we covered some of the key milestones, which was the community and staff engagement that was done through the course of a few weeks, as well as our community outreach survey. We have a ton of survey data that she's not going to go through all of that tonight. But essentially, the plan this evening is just to kind of give you a status update as to where we started, what has been completed, and what the next steps are to finalize the process to bring forward a facilities master plan to this board for approval. And with that, I would like to introduce Narissa Sparks with MGT.
Hello, I'm Narissa Sparks, MGT. I am the project manager and the director on this project, and I'm just going to give you a brief update tonight on where we are and what our next steps are. So if you don't mind changing the slide, there we go. The point we're at, we have completed all of the actionable steps. We have pulled all that information together. We went through the enrollment projections, the capacity utilization. We came out and did the facility condition and educational adequacy assessments, and then compiled all that information and most recently did the community engagement sessions. So right now we are at the point where we are composing the final plan. But I do have some information from the community engagement sessions to share with you. Go ahead and change. That I'd like to share with you. We did hold 3 live sessions and 1 online session. And the first session that we held was a staff session. And just briefly, I'll give you some of the highlights of that. From the staff session, they were asked what the overall perception of facilities were. And 44% of staff felt that they were good, and then 33% felt they were fair. So those were the top 2 answers. The top 2 planning objectives that the staff felt were important to them was building condition and safety and security. The complete results of all of these sessions will be in the final report with all the answers and all the potential answers that they were given. But the next one with the staff session was for school facilities. What do you feel are top priorities for school facility improvements? And the number 1 with staff was reliable heating. And the second one, which was actually a tie, was watertight building envelope. And the third place would be secured and locked building. And with all the sessions, the majority of participants felt that the approach to planning and addressing facility needs was a combination of long-term investment and with short-term solutions to address urgent needs. So I won't repeat that over and over. It was the top answer through all sessions. So you can go ahead and flip the page. Our next session was a community session. It was the AM session. And the overall perception, there was a tie between good and fair, 40% each. The planning objectives that were important to the folks that attended this session was building condition and improve utilization of building spaces. And then the facility priorities they felt were watertight building envelope, which is the roof, windows, walls. The second one, well, actually they were tied. No, excuse me. The second one was, no, I apologize. They were tied. The second one was reliable heating. So it was building envelope, reliable heating, and then CTE programming came in third. So if you could move to the next slide. The evening session for the community, the overall perception was mostly good at 46%. The second was fair at 38%. The planning objectives, building condition again, came overwhelmingly in front. And the second one was equitable facilities district-wide was the second top planning objective for that session. For the facility priorities, again, watertight building envelope was number 1, and there was a tie for the second place at reliable heating and secure locked building. This is, as you can see, repeated themes. The online session, which is the next slide, This is information we just mostly recently compiled. We closed the online session, I believe, last week and just compiled the information. From the online participants, we had about 238 responses, and overall condition, the top one was fair at 39%, and then 38% of respondents felt that the overall condition of school buildings was good. Planning objectives, building condition was number one. Improved extracurricular activities came in second, or actually tied for second with safety and security. And then the facility requirements was again watertight, building envelope, reliable heating and security. Now, I don't have a slide. You can stay on here because I don't have a slide for the next one, but just looking at the overall, with compiling all this information, 38% of participants felt that the buildings were good and 39% felt they were fair. Planning objectives, as you saw, building condition and safety and security were the top ones. And for facility priorities, the building envelope, heating, and security, again, were the top items overall. You can go on to the next slide. So now we're into the next steps. This master plan, a lot of the information we've been receiving on what needs to be in the master plan and how it should be formatted has been dynamic, but we have pulled together the template that we're going to use to cover everything that's required by AB 247. So all of those components will be in there that are required. I won't read them all to you. You can go on to the next slide. And the upcoming steps, the draft report, my target date is April 18th to turn a draft over. And then we will work with district staff to go over the draft and make sure everything's covered. Just basically edit and do what we need to do to make sure everything is right and what the district wants as far as the plan moving forward. We want to make sure we capture what is best for the district and, from the view of people who are there. And then we'll, of course, get the internal feedback. And then the final report will be composed and we will have our final presentation for the board on June 5th, 2025. So that is my PowerPoint presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. This is an exciting topic. I would like to open up again to the public first. If there's anyone either online or in the room would like to comment. Looks like we have one hand online.
Hello, this is Jay Tully. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Great, thanks for having this discussion. So I am the chair of the rec board for the city of PG, and I just wanted to first acknowledge the great collaboration that we've had with the PGUSD. Our rec department is able to offer soccer and basketball because of the ability to use the fields and the courts. So it's a wonderful collaboration, but I hope that we can also take this opportunity to envision a bit more with the master plan. So I have two requests. One is that the PGUSD engage with the city, possibly through the joint subcommittee, and engage in some visioning of what a master plan could be in conjunction. And second, of the high school and Forest Grove, it seems like there's just such a wonderful opportunity there because it's really the heart of the city in a lot of ways. I mean, I know there's the downtown, but really the high school is almost geographically in the center, and there's a lot of community, a lot of housing in the area. There's bus stops, and there's already a great infrastructure there with the fields, the tennis courts, the pool. and we could really have something special with some collaboration with the city. I would also offer that that was one of the spots. It was actually the number one spot offered as the skate park, but it didn't work the last time we tried to go to the skate park because it was not city land. So if that could be included in some discussion, that would be really appreciated. And I just want to thank you all for the effort you're making with this master plan. I think it's going to be could lead to some great improvements for the city. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else online or in the room? Okay, with that, we'll go back to the board, and if folks are okay, I have a few just quick thoughts. I saw the point about community input will be gathered if applicable on the draft plan, but how would we recommend the public, given surveys and community sessions have already happened, still participate? Like, should they be emailing us today? Should they wait for the draft plan?
I think that's more of a board discussion and decision. I mean, some school districts have, like, for example, shared the draft plan on their website and asked for, community input. Some districts bring the draft plan to this body and review, which is a plan that we have in place, and then we, do that through public comment. So really, it's a kind of the discretion of the board.
Okay, that's a really good point. I was going to add just kind of 3 off the top thoughts, and I'll say again, thank you for that presentation. It's really cool to see a lot of the alignment. The one thing, I won't say that worries me, but just one thing is, watertight building envelope and heating. Like, this is basic stuff. And I know we've been having issues with this, but I'm hopeful that with, because of funding, not because of us as a district, but I'm hoping that some of that we can cover with Measure D, Series D, right? In terms of the maintenance stuff.
I mean, my comment on that would be that what the district and the board's direction has been over the course of the last 4 years is accurately aligned with what our community wants, because we have been already directing Measure D funds towards watertight building envelopes. I believe that when Director Anderson came on board with us 3.5 years ago or so, that was one of the initiatives he brought forward, which was building envelopes first and foremost as a priority. So I think it kind of reinforces maybe some of the decisions that this board has made over the course of the last 3 years.
Perfect. That's what I was hoping. And the other thought from that is, and I know this wasn't the spot for it, but like, I'm really excited for that creativity, the future thought of what are the buildings that we need, what temporary structures can we replace with permanent structures to meet educational needs? How do we align the facilities master plan with maybe educational continuity plans under the CSSP? Because there might be a need to have more creative teaching solutions for, God forbid, the next pandemic or whatever we have to deal with. I really, really want to push this opportunity again for that creativity as to what our campuses could look like. So that was my comment on that. I'll just say as my second one, the extracurricular activities one that came up is something I know we've discussed before. It is not just something that supports our students, it supports our city to have good fields. Things like signage, I know Trustee Shamasi brought up before, having, that. Just again, how can we be creative to use that city PG partnership? I'm really excited, again, to hear what's coming from that, because I know it will be. And I didn't have too many questions on the presentation because I thought it covered those survey results well. It was nice to see that overall alignment. So anyone else on the board?
Thank you for the presentation and the work you're doing to put this together for our district. I kind of have a similar question. I guess I have a question out of what I heard from Mr. Tully, and it's like, I'm curious when we get to do the dreaming and imagining, like, could we some odd years from now be like the responsible owners of a district skate park? I don't know. But I think I'm just curious, like, for members of the public and for ourselves as board members, I've been coming and sitting through these meetings for like many years. So I have a list of things that have come up over time that I would love to put somewhere. So I'm curious, like, where and when as a board are we going to see the plan and then be able to say, oh, what about this? Because one concern I have is like, I want this process to happen, but I want it to be community engaged and informed. And so if we have to slow down a little bit to make sure like people's voices that want to be in the room are heard, I'm okay with that. But I guess my question is just like when for some of that, the dreaming or the creative thinking or when is that?
I'd like to let Assistant, Soup John answer that as well, and even like to hear from Narissa. But I think for us, I mean, I think that happens, through the upcoming process. I think as we bring to, forward to you sort of an initial plan for approval, that's your opportunity, that's your input session, right? I mean, you as the board, get to do that as well. I love the idea of, I mean, number one, yes, the community would get to be a part of that, but even the idea of putting, a draft of the plan online and getting the community to sort of weigh in. I think sometimes when you see ideas that are already there, more ideas come out of that, right? So I love the idea, Narissa, that's, still, an option. And I agree. I think, we've had a timeline on this to sort of gather the input and start an initial draft, of that, but that doesn't mean we have to be done by July. I think the board feels that there's a need to extend that as we, gather more input to make the plan robust and that it's, really indicative of everyone's voice included and what we envision for our district moving forward. This is a huge amount of money that we have. It's a huge endeavor. Our whole community is involved in this, right? It's, we have this money because of our community and individuals that make that up. So, Assistant Soup John, what else do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would only mention the fact that this is, I mean, developing a facilities master plan is kind of like, well, we have the needs assessment and then the facilities master plan. These are like the first few steps in a much broader process, which includes, I'm going to highlight the fact that we finalized a request for qualifications for architects, a request for qualifications for construction program management. I'm going to be bringing that to the board here in the next month as kind of a part of this. Once the board adopts a facilities master plan, it's kind of like the outline, and then all of the fill-in in between takes place once we have an architect of record on board, we have a program manager on board. I see Narissa nodding. And that's when the district starts to develop projects in collaboration with our community partners. So, I know that facilities master plan is really to identify what are our highest needs first, and also what is the low-hanging fruit that we can attack first, right? And then there is everything else in between. So, we are like, I would just say we're, 20% through the process here, maybe 25% by the time we actually adopt a facilities master plan. And then there's a lot left to do, tied to our architectural firm, tied back to our joint subcommittee with the city. If there are programming decisions that this district wants to make as related to, let's just say expansion of extracurricular fields and so forth, we would have to engage at the subcommittee level with our city to determine if they too have off-site improvement development funds available to partner with us on. So it's for further discussion. I'm really happy to see this district is taking the steps that it's taken so far, but there is still a lot left to do here. And I think that within the first, let's say, 6 months of next school year, after the district adopts a facilities master plan, if we do, our architects are going to help lead us through this process that they're all very familiar with.
That was really helpful for me. So thank you.
I do have a comment.
It was a much better answer than mine, Assistant Soup John.
Go ahead, Nursa.
Okay. I also wanted to add that a facility master plan is a living document. It is a directive, but let's go back to the building envelope, which I can say Director John has done an amazing job of tackling a lot of that. But we do give directives such as, you need to put a roof on building D at the high school. That's a direct comment. But we also put in directives that say, well, CTE programming needs to expand. You need to expand existing or expand spaces or build purpose-built spaces for new CTE programming, but we don't say what that looks like. That's up to you. And that's what makes it a living document. It just, some things are very direct and some things are just, a direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all very helpful for me. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm not quite sure where it would happen in the process, I guess, because it's a living document and complicated, but it would be good to see somewhere along, I guess, earlier rather than later, to see like the most creative uses that school districts have done with their facilities, like the most creative partnerships or something, because I think we think it's just one thing, or maybe a skate park. But if we see other living examples of creative uses, that might be helpful to kind of broaden our horizons.
Thank you. Good. Okay. That is not something we need to give you any motion on, but I think hopefully you guys have good direction from us, and thanks for giving this update. It's really helpful. Okay, we are now on to item B, universal pre-kindergarten, and we have Dr. Hedquist, I think, on this item to present. Now we'll just note the time as he's coming forward. It is 9:43. Do we want to try to pass an extension now, or do we want to try to get through this and interrupt in the middle? Okay. So does anyone have a motion on the timing of the meeting, since we have to end at 10 without it?
Do we have to go back into closed session on the second negotiations item? Okay.
Nope. Yep, no, we gave. Yep, they're the same for now. And that's. We do not, yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we extend the meeting till 10:30.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it passes at least 5-0 as far as I could hear from the nays. Okay, thank you. Sorry for that delay, but thank you, Dr. Hedquist.
Garden, the implications within Pacific Grove Unified. For your convenience and for the convenience of anybody in the room or listening, I've created an executive summary that will provide a little bit more detail than I will be able to do with my slideshow, which is on page 131 of the board packet. So first of all, I would like to provide a little bit of background and to understand the way UPK works. We have to go back quite a few years, all the way back to 2010, where you had Senate Bill 1381, the Kindergarten Readiness Act of 2010, which drew upon research in early childhood development, indicating that the younger students in kindergarten classes were not faring as well academically and socially and emotionally in kindergarten. And so the legislation initiated two things. There was the initiation of a change in cutoff dates. And along with that was the creation of a transitional kindergarten class to house the students who were at that time being excluded from the kindergarten courses because they were too young. So a little bit of background here. That began a rollback in cutoff dates. So students in 2011 and 2012, the cutoff date for kindergarten was December 2nd. Students must turn 5 by December 2nd in order to qualify for kindergarten. So you had 4-year-olds, those students that were 4 all the way up until December 2nd in the kindergarten class. And those were the students that were struggling and that were not faring well. And so there was a slow rollback of those dates so that the 4-year-olds were no longer being included in the kindergarten classes. And it went to November 1st in 2012 and 2013, and that rolled further back to October 1st in 2013 and 14, and finally to September 1st in 2014-15. And so by that time, you really no longer, assuming that school starts around September 1st, you no longer have the 4-year-olds in the kindergarten classes. So the question is where do those kindergartners go? And you can imagine, the questions that were being asked during the time, like where are we going to house the kids? They were formerly in kindergarten. Where do they go now? And that's where you have the implementation of transitional kindergarten. And so what the transitional kindergarten accomplished was it provided a space for those students that were being displaced due to the rollback to access learning. So it was essentially the first year in a 2-year kindergarten program for these students. And it's still defined that way. So in 2012-13, the students who had November 2nd to December 2nd birthdays were the ones that were being displaced. And so that was a real small group of students that were being offered the transitional kindergarten. And then that group of students grew a little bit more, right? Because you have another month added along, October 2nd to December 2nd. And then by 2014 and 15, it's rolled all the way back to September 2nd, that window between September 2nd and December 2nd. Those are your TK students. And it remained that way for several years. We had a TK the first year of a 2-year program and a kindergarten, which housed basically the 5-year-olds. Moving forward to 2021. So this is flashing forward about 5 years, and you have AB 130, where you begin the expansion of that transitional kindergarten program. So basically you have the expansion of that date range from September 2nd to December 2nd. That December 2nd date gets pushed forward. And so students who turned 5 within the below windows would have access to TK, and this is in 22-23. So the range used to be between September 2nd and December 2nd, and in 22-23 it moved to between September 2nd and February 2nd. So it expanded the numbers of students basically by extending that window. And then it was a year by year expansion, and that by 23-24, the window was September 2nd to April 2nd. And then by 24-25, our current year, the window was September 2nd to June 2nd, where students could turn 5. And then in 25-26, the UPK guidelines say that any child who has their 4th birthday by September 1st will be eligible. So you would have that expansion that now has circled the entire calendar and come back to September 1st, right? So it'll be September 2nd to September 1st. Well, throughout this process, there has been the option for LEAs to allow for early enrollment. These are students that are just outside the window. These are the younger students that would be just outside the student that LEAs could opt to include those students in the classes. So these are students with birthdays that fall just beyond the cutoff dates mentioned in the previous slide. The current cutoff date as of this year, as mentioned in the previous slide, is June 2nd. So as of this year, LEAs have had the option to admit early enrollment students. And it should be noted that PGUSD has not exercised this option, which is why students with birthdays between June 3rd and September 1st, those summer birthdays, are not currently enrolled in TK classes. Those would be the youngest students. They would be 3-year-olds entering into the TK classes. And additional requirements in the legislation come along with admitting those youngest students, the 3-year-olds, into the TK classes. You'll see here that had Pacific Grove opted for early enrollment. The legislation mentions a 1-to-10 ratio, so that changes the student to teacher ratio. It goes from 1-to-12 to 1-to-10 with the early enrollment students. Also, class sizes go from 24 to 20. And that is what the guidelines of UPK for 25-26 call for. But it's interesting because we're in a unique situation as a basic aid district. This is all contingent upon it says a condition of apportionment. And it should be noted that as a basic aid district, Pacific Grove does not receive an apportionment for any of this implementation. So we're presenting 3 options for the district. What are our choices in PGUSD? If number 1 is the option of maintaining the current cutoff date. So this would maintain the current cutoff date of June 2nd. That's what we're carrying right now, which would exempt the district from the early enrollment requirements, thereby avoiding the additional costs and staffing constraints. Basically, this says that we just continue doing what we're doing right now, and that wouldn't have no fiscal impact because there's no changes. Option 2 would extend the cutoff date. So this would be to fully follow the UPK guidelines. And that would be to extend the cutoff date to September 1st, aligning with the state's UPK expansion and complying with the requirements for districts that are receiving an apportionment for that expansion, which include the 1-to-10 adult to student ratio and a class size maximum of 1-to-20. PGUSD would not receive the apportionment to support this expansion like non-basic aid districts, so it would be costly. With our current numbers, current projection, the potential fiscal impact would be $227,427, and potentially higher if we exceed the 60 students. And then option 3 is the option to extend the cutoff date, but maintain current class size maximum. So considering PGUSD is not receiving an apportionment from the state for its TK expansion, extend the cutoff date to September 1st in alignment with UPK guidelines, but maintain our current 1-to-24 class size and add additional support staff member to reach the 1-to-10 adult to student ratio. This would essentially add a non-teaching staff member to lower the adult to student ratio. This option would also increase costs, however, not as much as option 2 outlined on the previous slide. And then the district recommendation, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Linda Adamson to discuss the next 2 slides.
Thank you, Dr. Hagquist. You did such a nice job of a lot of information covering a lot of years, and you're really making it so easy to understand and follow. Thank you for doing so. So the slide really, before us is really what we are recommending as a district is really to maintain and go with option 1, which essentially is, maintaining that current cutoff date of June 2nd for our incoming TK students, really, following that age requirement of the date by which they turn 4, and really the rationale is listed. One of the reasons being as it is one of the most fiscally sound and responsible decision when looking at the fiscal components of it. I think just adding to that, while we value early education more than anyone, I think we've proven that over the years in just the development of the incredible robust TK and kindergarten, but looking specifically at TK currently program that we're able to offer, through the ability we've been able to, I think the teachers and the staff we've been able to hire, really is evidence of how we've been able to serve the needs of our youngest learners, and I think that's something we want to be able to continue to maintain. So that's definitely one of those reasons as well. I do want to reiterate that, this is definitely a decision that we're making for next year. It's something that allows us the time to then, continue to evaluate. funding continues to be an issue, right? And I think as Dr. Hagwist has referenced, for us to, do any of the other two options, the fiscal impact to that really would, have a negative impact on the reductions that we've already proposed that really allow us to make that move to put us on the trajectory to, maintaining and moving towards a balanced budget. So, that's definitely a concern. It also, in maintaining our current numbers, in maintaining our current ratios, really just allows us to maintain the quality, of the current program that we're offering. When looking at, those students who now fall into that window, that of period between June 2nd and June 3rd and September 1st, we will continue to offer our current preschool programs through our co-op and our state preschool program to really meet the needs, of our younger students. I really, we are at this point through the pre-registration process. We have an idea of a small handful of students who that would impact, who we want to have that ability to be able to reach out and meet directly with those families to have those conversations. And that has already begun. And to really just make sure that they're aware of what those options and, what would be available to them, with that decision to be made. I think the final piece to this, the funding component, is, we are actively working, with the state. Currently, Assembly Member Addis is advocating actively on behalf of all basic aid districts within the state of California to advocate for fundings. And we are, banding together as basic aid districts to, really do the same. We just submitted, a letter this week directly from Pacific Grove. I think the challenge with that is if any funding does come through, that would really only apply, for planning purposes would be, for next school year. So again, I share that with everyone now to just know that this is definitely, something long-term that we'll continue to evaluate and analyze and continue to adjust and make decisions on. I think for now, the decision we've got to make for planning purposes really, speaks to next school year. And that is the reason, we're really identifying option one as that recommendation. My final slide, and I know it's going to feel a little like I'm switching sort of direction, and it's not necessarily the direct topic of this presentation, but I feel just because this has been such a heavy topic and something that we've had so many of our kinder and TK families reach out to us in the past week, specifically on the topic of enrollment and how how placement is determined when it comes to our two elementary schools. And so I really just want to finish with just a few highlights and bullet points that really speak to that particular subject, because it's related and it's not, but because, it's been something that we've been fielding so many questions on these past few days, I really just wanted the opportunity to highlight these. So I'll just go through them briefly. I think first, number one, when we're making those decisions related to enrollment and placement, we definitely, I want to remind everyone, and I said it earlier tonight, that we are in the initial pre-registration stage. And so, any decisions on that remain premature. It's always been our practice that registration opens in May and we start making those decisions at that time. And I think, we have families, I think hearing, the possibility of there could be movement. And I know that causes stress, and we've heard from, many already this evening. But again, I just want that to be known, it's still very premature. And until we know for certain what those numbers are, we, cannot, begin to make, definitive decisions. I think, I want this comment to be known that, we have two exceptional elementary, school programs, both who have incredible teaching staff. And I think one of the benefits of that and what we see and that we're so proud of is that our staff, make it a priority to build strong relationships with their families. And clearly, that's the reason why our families don't want to leave their neighborhood schools. And so that to me is a good problem to have. It just speaks to the importance that we place, on those connections that we build and make. Number three, again, it is always our priority to try to accommodate our students and our families at their neighborhood schools. And I reiterate that again and repeat that again, that will continue to be the ongoing, priority when we can. The fiscally responsible decisions, obviously through that process, we have to be able to look at what the space is available before making it a decision that really brings the cost of another teacher. If the need is there, as I said that earlier, if we need to expand our program and it warrants an additional class and we are going to be able to fill an additional class, we will make that decision, as the demand indicates. And we absolutely are prepared to do so. And that is what we're doing in watching our enrollment and pre-registration numbers, closely and carefully, which we'll be doing over the next few weeks and months. In the event that a different placement other than a student's neighborhood school is needed, I just want to reiterate great care and consideration will be taken, into those decisions. We have a priority list on how those decisions are made. I want to reiterate that the least amount of students possible will be impacted, through that process. And again, those decisions would only be made in the event that we had, a decent amount of space, at another school site where we could accommodate those small numbers. And again, I think just, should the expansion is needed, to grow the K program, we're prepared to do that. We are considering other creative ways of keeping students in their neighborhood schools. And one of those does include, yes, if the need arises and we see that would work, the creation of a TKK combo class. And so that is absolutely something that we, would consider and look at if that, again, allowed for us to, continue to be able to accommodate, the majority of students at their neighborhood school as well. And once, that final piece, that all decisions are made with the best interest of all of our students and, with the priority on, impacting the least number of students, overall. And just, we, thank everyone for their patience. I know we appreciate the reaching out and the ability to have the ongoing conversations, because that's how we're able to, talk things through. Sometimes I think, some emails where parents will think automatically that they're impacted when they're not necessarily. So it just allows us that ability to be able to explain further. But I wanted to end with that and then bring us back, yes, to the age component and, the option that we are making for TK specifically. And I hand it back over to you, President Hazen.
Thank you. And I just want to note we extended to 10:30. We only have about 26 minutes. So I'd like to go to public comment, and then I'm going to divide the time up per board member just to make sure we can get through this item. So is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this item?
Erica Chavez, currently TK teacher. The purpose of SB 1381 in 2010 was to prevent a young group of students from not doing well in kindergarten and beyond as they were younger than their peers. Option 1 completely defeats the past 15 years in early education, in early childhood elementary education. We are setting up the summer babies to enter kindergarten without the benefit of our TK classrooms. They're expert teachers. My colleagues are experts in intentional and explorative play, social emotional learning, and fostering executive functioning and in building inhibitory control according to the preschool transitional kinder learning foundations of California. And excluding the summer babies from that opportunity is counterproductive. I fully, deep in my heart, believe that what is best for our students is option 1. However, I do and fully understand budget constraints. As the PGTA vice president, our unit has negotiated for and endorsed the fiscal compromise of option 3. We are a culture of we, and that includes our youngest learners. We say that we foster a place of belonging, safety, and prosperity. How can we say that when these students simply do not belong because they were born in the summer?
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else from the public? Yeah, please come on up.
Going to slightly piggyback on, my name's Allison Brooks, on what Erica Chavez just said. I don't believe that my daughter will personally be impacted, and I still care a great deal. This community is so beautiful. I've been with most of the moms since our children were babies over at the co-op preschool, and I care just as much about each of their children as I do my own. And I feel very much like that picture of being a summer baby, you get hit twice, because first, you don't get to attend the TK program, which is very different. I love the co-op preschool, but it is not apples and apples. It's very different. And I think they're both needed for a wide range of children. And as we all know, the lower grades, TK preschool, we need a wide variety of opportunities for them and a wide variety of different types of educational styles to offer. So that being said, first they don't get to attend. And then now that you're talking about possibly busing them outside of their school district, they're hit twice because they're not in TK. So they're not top priority. And so now they're one of the ones that might get selected to be moved to out of their district, or not out of their district, but out of their neighborhood school. So I just wanted to bring that to light. And I just wanted to express that I really appreciate all of you listening to us, reading our emails. It's a really wonderful, beautiful group that just cares very deeply, and we only want what's best for our children and what's best for our school and our teachers. I've had the privilege of substituting quite a bit in TK and Kinder at Robert Down. I am absolutely in love with this school. I used to be a teacher in Sacramento where the class size was 30, 31 in a first grade classroom. I moved here with my family. We bought a shoebox of a home with no property for Robert Down for this school. And we're so happy to be here. And Forest Grove is amazing too. If we had bought a house there, I would want to be able to walk my child to school there as well. And I would want to bond with that community because our property taxes are what goes to the school to pay for it. I really feel that I have the right to go to that school, especially. So thank you for listening to me. I really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate your time on this late night.
Thank you so much for your comments. Appreciate them. Any other from the public? If not, we have. Okay, let's go to the public. Thank you for catching those, Lou.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Tope. My daughter is currently in TK at Robert Down. We pushed as hard as we could to get into this district. The Tope family is they've been in the PG area forever. My father-in-law is one of 10. And so the PG school district has always been something dear to us. Once we had children, we wanted to be in it. My son will be coming up into TK in about a year, 2 years. Our biggest fear and what we're really pushing for is we love the teachers, and to possibly think that we wouldn't have some of them is absolutely scary. We currently have Miss Spadoni. She is unbelievably fantastic, and the thought of her potentially not being there for my son when he comes up is a little petrifying to us. And so we just would like to stress that and try and keep as many of our teachers in the school district as we can. I know it's difficult, and I know budget cuts have to come into play, but we do want everybody to look at what these teachers bring to our kids with the stability, the love, and the success that they're really driving for our students. And that's just all I really wanted to express today.
Thank you so much for your comments. And then one more online, and then we'll cut after that, if that's okay. Vanessa, I think it's your hand. Vanessa, can you speak, see if we can hear you? If not, yeah, feel free to put something in the chat. If the microphone's not working, because we can't hear you on our end. I will say, just for the interest of time, I'd like us to move to the board comments again, and maybe we can try, if it comes to the chat, we can at least read it out to get it on record. So I will put us down for about 3.5 minutes and try to keep track now of everybody. We're going to start right in the middle with Trustee Otmar, and then move that way to end with Clerk McNary, if that's okay, because I haven't started in the middle yet.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh, okay. So of course I have many thoughts about this. I'm just going to shoot them out as quick as I can. As far as not accepting what's being referred to as summer babies, which I think is super cute. So these summer babies, if they are not coming into TK, then because they've missed the cutoff, their next option is to go into kinder. Now, that would mean that there are TK kids that have been in TK because they had a birth date that wasn't in the summer. They're moving on to kinder. And now if this summer baby goes to their neighborhood school, which I hope happens, they are now immersed in a class that has already established a connection. There is a social emotional connection that happens. It's not highly, I don't say highly academic, but really kindergarten in TK has a huge social emotional impact. It's where they learn to grow. It's where they learn to form bonds and connect with each other. And after just reading that MOU about mental health awareness and all the work that we're doing, I think if in the same breath, we're also saying, yes, but it doesn't apply to TK and they're just so young and how are they going to know? They'll know. They will show up in kindergarten. I remember being in kindergarten. You know, there are memories. And what I don't want to do is start a kid's school career off feeling isolated or feeling out of place or not feeling connected. It's the beginning of a long career, and we have enough happening in our world that we don't need as a district to start their journey off like that. As far as moving kids to another school, I think that we can find creative solutions. I think that bringing an Aiden and having a class that is older TK and younger kinder, I think we can be creative. Our kids' education and the community that they are going to grow in, I think it would be irresponsible to yank a kid out and stick them at another school and just say, well, it's just for a year. That sticks. It's an important continuity structure. It's so important. And I just can't get behind it. So I really hope that as a district, we are very creative. And if we're going to spend money somewhere, that's where I'd like to put money and figure out a way somewhere else that we can, it's not going to be popular either, but trim the fat, because these babies need support. They need to start this journey off in a way that is whole and feels connected to their community. We're lucky to be in this community. And I just don't want our kids to not be a part of that, not experience that from the beginning.
2 seconds to spare. Trustee Shamas, you're next.
Did you choose an option?
Just right now, it's just discussion. We don't have to have an action, right? But do you have a preferred option that you want to mention? No.
It's info and discussion, but it looks like staff is looking for a recommendation and a choice to be made for direction as far as option 1, 2, or 3 this evening.
I would also argue that it's so early. We don't even have final numbers. We're just getting info and
with our recommendation.
Thank you. So no, it sounds like we don't have to give.
We don't have to give an option. If you want to, you're welcome to, but you're not out of 3 minutes. Just kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead. 3.5.
Do it in a minute. Option 1 for me. I just think that, you know, yes, summer babies, but it's always going to be, it's continual, you know, where you're going to have to draw a line somewhere. I mean, you saw the whole list of how we went from dates to dates to dates. I mean, it's continual. What we can do as a district is, you know, provide good preschool options. I mean, and I'm not worried about kindergartners having to go to maybe a different school simply because we have such good teachers. They're going to feel welcome, and you know, it's life. We have 2 schools. We have 2 really, really good elementary schools, and I hate the fact that they get kind of compared against each other. And I wish we didn't even call them neighborhood schools, because it gives that impression. And listen, this is something I dealt with back in 97. Okay, this is not new. It's not new, but you know, when I first came on the board, all the kindergartners went to David Avenue, all of them. And then we broke that up and put them back to, I don't even know why, but we did. So, But I mean, guess what? They survived, I mean, so yes, it seems emotional, but try to look at it from, some other supportive places. Parents can make the difference here. Whether parents are all stressed out, then the kids get stressed out. If parents go, well, we'll do it and we'll be okay, the kids take their cue from that. But the teachers, I don't care what site you're at, you got good teachers and they'll take care of those kids. But anyway, I'm option one because we can't afford the other two options.
Excellent. 1 minute and 30 seconds to spare. Trustee Weiss.
I won't take up the full time, but Dr. Adamson, when you were talking about Assembly Member Addis and you said next school year, you mean 26, 27, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And I won't give any direction because that's not my job tonight, but I would be curious. I don't know anything about their fiscal situation, but PG Pride just did have this big fundraiser. So I would be interested in maybe seeing if there are some grant opportunities from them. I don't like the idea of funding public school through donations and that sort of thing. But if the public feels strongly one way or another about it, I think that might be a good source of funding.
Awesome. Thank you. That was amazing.
You see how quick that was?
That was the fastest I think I've ever heard you speak. Yeah. Okay, no, go ahead. Trustee Perry. No, it's fine.
Because then you're gonna have the crunch time for the clock, so.
Yeah, exactly. I get the last minute.
And I'm not gonna take up too much more time. I do appreciate all the input we've gotten from the community on both the early enrollment issue and concerns regarding placement. I think Trustee Shamas covered some of what I would have said. But I acknowledge too that like 6 years ago, I was a kindergarten parent and it was really scary to think that my kid could go to a different school. At that time, TK was all housed at Forest Grove. So my kids did have classmates who went to Forest Grove for 1 year and then went to Robert Down. And the beautiful thing about our community is like we're 2 by 2 square miles. So you see each other at extracurriculars, you see each other at the sports, you see each other everywhere. And I really want to stay away from the idea that we have like the neighborhood school because I feel like it just divides us further. And there's enough of that. And for what it's worth, both of my kids went through Forest Grove from TK through 5th grade, had a fantastic experience. I have a summer baby who's a boy born in June. And like, I don't think whether or not he went through TK is really going to determine his lot in life. There's so many more things. And so teaching them that they can be resilient, no matter what their first year of education looks like, I think that's on us as the adults in the room too, to be able to say like, hey, we're going to get through this. This may not be ideal and it may not be what you had hoped for. And it's going to be okay because we're in a great district. We have exceptional schools and exceptional teachers at both schools. So, and for budgetary reasons, which we've been discussing for the last 4 months, option one for me. So how was that on time?
Awesome. We are well ahead. So I'm going to hope we'll have some time to maybe read the comment at the end of the board just to get it on the record from the public, but we'll do that last if there's time. I wanted to ensure I said it quickly, but for everyone in the community again that has reached out, thank you so much. It's important to hear those voices, but it's important to say again, we have time before we know enrollment numbers. I know people want guarantees. It's I wish I had some guarantees in my life right now, just say on a personal level. But that's not always the way it could happen. And we need to know enrollment numbers before we know this about the sites. And you bring up a good point, Trustee McNary, too. One site in the future might be the best answer. And that might just be based on facilities, that might be based on needs, it might be based on enrollment. And that's something we have to consider. And I'm not saying necessarily one site for reconfiguration purposes, using the dreaded R word, but one site for TK, if that's something that's part of the facilities master planning document. Because again, we do have 2 amazing schools in our elementary school portfolio. The creativity that was mentioned, same thing, I'll just say again, is not just, I really like the idea of taking maybe the older TK kids with younger kindergarten kids, if that's a way to make a new class and, potentially, broach some of these issues. But, the other point is I don't trust our government right now to do what we need to get the funding for these sort of things. So I do want to say, like, I do see us if we take option one this year, that it's a this year thing. How do we work to get towards option two in, the next year or two? Again, the point was made. We're doing RIFs this year. I agree this is such an important thing, but it's hard for me to say that this needs to be a priority above, X, Y, and Z, especially some of the positions that we've had to, issue RIFs to. So those are my comments. Sorry, we're not giving you many questions, but hopefully it's at least giving a little bit of direction.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just clarify something? Because
Yes.
I don't want my comments to be skewed at all. When I'm talking about kids going to school in their community, I'm talking about the community of their school. I'm not talking about this neighborhood school versus that neighborhood school. This is not about Robert Down versus Forest Grove by any means. What this is about, it is about if a child is being taken out of Forest Grove to move to Robert Down, he or she is leaving that community. I'm saying continuity is important for kids. I am not going to sit up here and tell a parent how to act in their home or how to parent their child or if they should show stress or not show stress. We're human beings. It comes out in all different ways. And so it is not my space to sit up here and say anything about that. And I don't think that we should govern how people raise their kids. I'm saying the community has come forward. We are a culture of we. That's what we're talking about. And if we are not endorsing that, then we need to stand behind our words, is what I'm saying. And I don't want this to be switched into something that's Forest Grove against Robert Down and it's some dramatic, us against you. That's not what this is.
No.
This is about keeping kids in their community and not pulling them out partway through.
Right, but we have had, I'm just making the record again that we have had the kids that do TK at Forest Grove in the past. So I agree with you, like in an ideal world, but Monterey has shut down schools recently and had to reconfigure and, combine K through 8 in one school.
I'm not talking about Monterey and I'm not talking about what's happened in the past. I'm talking about how we're moving forward, and how we're moving forward in our new culture of we is to support these kids in the community that they're forming. And I don't think hopefully it doesn't happen, but I'm just saying that it is my wish that we'll do absolutely everything possible to not do that, because then you do end up with a parent that has a kid that's in second grade, let's say at Forest Grove, and then their child is going in TK. You're shaking your head, but
that's not one of the priorities we've laid out in our
I
IARs,
understand.
is that you wouldn't separate siblings. So again, I just don't want to put fear out there. That is not something I really do believe.
Then we need to be super clear about it, because the emails that I'm receiving are emails that people are being fearful. So if there's a list of priorities, and it'd be great to have numbers, and I realize we can't do much now. And I guess now I'm off on a tangent, but I just wanted to make sure that my comment was received in the way that it was meant to be received. And it is not Forest Grove versus Robert Down. And,
there was a point about continuity, I think, and that was.
And I just didn't want it to be taken out of context by making it a war between schools, because that's not. And I don't think that that's where others are coming from either. It is people, when they say neighborhood school, it is people wanting to walk their child to school. That's the neighborhood they're talking about.
Understood. Can I suggest that we read is that okay to read the chat just so it's on the record for everybody, and then we can adjourn at the chat? There was a commenter that wasn't able to actually make because of microphone issues. So I just want it to be part of the record, so we're getting full public input as possible.
That's good. I can read it.
That'd be great.
From Vanessa. I have a summer baby who didn't qualify for TK this year. We have loved the co-op preschool, but that fact is that when she joins with her cohort in first grade, she will be one of the youngest student with only 1 year of elementary school and now potentially moving between schools, as she is also an only child and wouldn't have priority. I don't love hearing, quote, "This is life," end quote, and quote, "They survived," end quote. How can our kids have such different experiences based on their birthday?
Thank you so much for your comments. with that, I think we've given some direction. The direction to be that some people have preferences for option one, some have preferences for option three. And what I'm saying is direction to come back to us when enrollment numbers are higher, so we can actually make the decision we need to make. Not direction on which option to take, just direction as a board on our opinions. I think that's a valid thing to say. With that, yeah, we have future agenda items. I would propose we just kick that and adjourn the meeting unless someone really feels strongly otherwise. Few minutes to spare. Thank you guys so much. I'll adjourn at 10:27. Thanks.